Hi, and welcome to this week's Three Legs Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Sean.
Chris.
Lee.
Welcome back, Sean.
Hi.
Hello, Sean. How
Hello.
are you doing?
Not too bad, thank you.
Good.
You're saving the show while Dan's off.
Possibly
I'm
saving
not
the
going
world.
to say saving the world because you never know.
I
What
said possibly
Ah,
saving.
yeah.
He's obviously been very busy because I believe I returned to the island after him, yet I have had time to watch the race.
Potentially saving the world.
You didn't have to write reports from your trip away at the weekend.
This is true. This
I
is true.
believe it's called a debrief.
I don't know. She was on a hen do. You don't want to know what happens on those.
That's a different type of debrief.
It was Dee's hen do.
It was Dee's Handy.
So, have we recovered from that Grand Prix yet?
Just about, I think.
She's good, wasn't she?
I literally watched it like 2 hours ago, so I think I'm still on the come down.
Yeah, it was. If you didn't know what was happening, and then you sort of you managed to avoid all news. For,
I did not.
No, then wow, yeah. But,
Yeah, it was-
Lee, you managed to catch up with it slightly later than live.
Yeah, I think I watched about 12 o'clock, something like that. One, 10 o'clock, yeah.
It was very admirable though. The way that you sent the message through to us at about, I think it was about
6 o'clock.
about six o'clock
Yeah.
Sunday morning. Going, not going to get a chance to watch it live. I'm going dark.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed that. Yeah.
You were off with Dan.
Oh, are you and Dan like partners in crime?
Just a bit of a foreigner, that was all he needed. he needed somebody that could kill without remorse, so...
You were just papering over the cracks.
Yeah.
When you say a foreigner, you mean not the person you had to kill.
No, he was foreign. All 10 of them.
No, you were still getting more than double vision from 3 days before.
Well...
But yes, Formula One.
Measuring people is Moorish.
Oh God.
Some sort of classic Chinese Grand Prix just happened.
I think that is possibly the best Chinese Grand Prix that I can remember.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, Shanghai is usually pretty exciting.
It's good for overtaking in comparison to
Australia.
Australia. I mean, we
I
have,
was going for Monaco, but
yeah, but I mean, we have every circuit's pretty good in comparison to Monaco. We had a pretty good Bahrain Grand Prix. So we've been spoiled
Yeah.
by having an excellent Chinese Grand Prix. I thought it was wonderful. All of the incidents that happened, the questionable teammate decisions, not just in the obvious team, but yeah, it had everything going on.
Yeah.
Poor race strategies, good race strategies.
I think just Italian-flavoured teams didn't do very well on the team games.
No.
No, they didn't play the team game very strongly. Did they?
Unless you consider the Iron team.
Yeah, which is in the A.
so team by team review then. Toro Rosso have to bring up the race in as they did.
Well, yeah. Well, there was no retirements as such.
Hartley didn't finish the race, but he was pulled out as soon as he'd completed 90% of race distance to be classified.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, he was missing half his floor on the right-hand side of the car.
Well, that was all because he was ahead of Pierre Gasly for a portion of the race when they were on different strategies between pit stops, I think.
I think
And-
Gasly had just come out from his pit stop, hadn't he? And that was sort of what
And it was
he was on the new tyres and was coming up. And
Brendan Hartley was told to let Pierre Gasly through. However, Gasly took that as though he could go through whenever he wanted.
Yeah, go through.
go
in.
through, not past.
Yeah, yeah,
No, Pierre, go round.
yeah.
So first law of physics, you cannot pass a solid object through another solid object.
Gasly's obviously decided after last week that anything is possible in that
We're
car.
all agreeing, aren't we? Well, no, I can see why. I mean, it was a crash, literally a crash that back down to earth for Pierre Gasly, isn't it? After his 4th place in Bahrain.
Gazdonado?
Oh.
Ooh.
Did any? Do you know what I didn't notice? I don't think maybe we did mention it on the podcast, but I don't think we did. Did anyone else notice the Gasly hit at McLaren after his decent race with Toro
Yeah,
Rosso?
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Now we
yes.
can fight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't notice it until
Yes.
I heard
Yeah.
somebody else talk about it.
Yeah, I think we did mention it briefly on last week's pod. Yeah, But we're all agreed, aren't we? Gasly's fault, that accident?
Very much
Yeah,
so.
but
Well, he
shit.
doesn't agree, though, does he?
No, we think it's Gasly's fault.
We think it was Gasly's fault. The stewards thought it was Gasly's fault.
Yeah.
Hartley thought it was Gasly's
The
fault.
only reason that
Toro
wasn't
Rosso
Gasly's
thought it was Gasly's fault.
The only reason that wasn't Gasly's fault is if he was abducted down the main straight and it was like missing time and he was just stuck back in his car and he went into the back of him.
Which didn't happen.
No.
I have
So-
heard some interesting excuses over the years, but I think abduction
I was
was
abducted
not
on
one
the
of
back
them.
straight.
I'm going to talk like a politician now.
Oh.
Let's be very clear about this. Pierre Gasly's team radio, his initial reaction was, he closed the door on me.
When?
Wasn't
Lunchtime?
really open,
Yeah.
was it?
To close a door, first it has to be open. Lee, are you okay? That sounded painful.
It wasn't.
I couldn't tell if that was your joints or the chair or the table.
It was the monitor and my funny bone.
So yeah, poor race for Toro Rosso, really. Hartley finishing, well, not really finishing, but classified last.
Yeah.
And Gasly, as I was saying, crashing back down to earth, finishing 18th place after finishing that heroic fourth in
that's
Bahrain.
not to belittle the Bahrain finish because he drove a great race and they
Absolutely.
really hooked it up.
Yeah.
But does it look like that we can put the Toro Rosso and the Honda Resurgent down to just one of those crazy Formula One results you get now and again?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
everything
so.
just fell into place at
Yeah.
the right time.
Yeah, I mean, China's more of a power circuit as well, isn't
Mm-hmm.
it? Definitely more power dependent in Shanghai than you are at,
Yeah.
at Zakia. So,
But that's the thing, like it wasn't
the
like both
deficit-
Toro Rossos were up there, was
No.
it? Yeah, so
So the deficit, power deficit, definitely showed this weekend just gone.
Maybe Honda had turned the engine down a bit because just to save it, because they knew they wouldn't be able to match the power of the other engines down that straight. Because the Honda has been down on speed on that straight anyway.
yeah.
And if it's not harvesting as much energy and it can't put out as much energy, there's no point turning it up full chat and using whatever lifespan you've got.
But it's not like they were slowest in the speed traps, is it? McLaren was slowest in the
McLaren
speed
was
trap.
slowest in the speed trap, yeah.
In fact,
But,
wasn't
but that
Hart-
was all Honda's fault as well.
Must have
Hang on. In testing, wasn't Hartley fastest down the speed traps?
In
the
some
speed
of them,
traps.
yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe it wasn't power deficit, maybe it was the car as well.
Maybe a bit of both. But yeah,
By the end of the race, they both had holes in them.
Yeah.
Toro Rosso, I don't think they realised how much that accident would have shaped the race in front of them. And basically that incident gave us a really exciting race because it was kind of processional a little bit, wasn't it, in the opening stages?
One thing I did notice when Sky was showing the highlights, you had 5 minutes for the first 18 laps, and then 35 minutes for the rest of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds about right. Yeah.
First tweet of the week about the Toro Rosso crash. This is from Louis B. Aimed this one at Lee as well. I think I mentioned him in the tweet. I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on. Has safety car, Ferrari snatches win from Mercedes. Toro Rosso safety car, Red Bull snatches win from Mercedes.
I think you need to stop eating the
Interesting.
baker foil before he wears it.
Does Mercedes need a Williams or Force India crash to win?
I can't.
No, they need a Renault crash because that's where their reserve driver is.
Yeah.
I mean, the Williams is so far back. I'm trying to work out the situation where
Who would they be crashing into?
Yeah, unless they're going.
Whoever's lapping them, which is likely to be a Mercedes.
The only way I think the Williams could help Mercedes win a race is if it was like Vettel, Kimi, Hamilton, and the Williams crashed into Kimi and Vettel.
Yeah, it was a poor race all round, though, wasn't it, for teammate incidents?
Yes.
Should we just say that? Should we move on to the next team?
Move on to next. We've got Sauber next. Again, points last time out. Not so good this time.
Nowhere near. Charles Leclerc was actually the last of the finishers, if we're saying that.
Charles Leclerc's pants.
Yeah.
He had a spin, didn't he, at one
And he
point?
still doesn't know why he went.
And he's being beaten by
What, went to
Sven-Göran
China?
Eriksson.
Sven-Göran Eriksson. Well, I think we played a very good game today.
But like he's apart from until Stroll came in and ripped the trophy off him, like Ericsson was, I think, would have been easily looked at as the worst driver on the grid.
The wooden spoon.
Yeah, but I think old Lance takes that crown now. But you know, if Leclerc's the next great Ferrari hope, he should be
Ahead of Ericsson.
ahead of Ericsson.
But when he's managing to spin, doesn't know how. But then Ericsson ends up not slowing down for the yellow flags that came out for Ericsson's spin and getting a 5-place grid penalty,
Yeah.
which dropped him from 20th. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. The Saubers went back to being...
Was last time out in Bahrain just one of those crazy F1 results where everything just
happens.
haven't we all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah.
Sauber went back to being fairly anonymous, didn't they, in China? Nothing really happened with Sauber. We didn't see them doing an awful lot wrong. They were just kind of slow.
They were just also there.
Didn't see him doing an awful lot.
No, did
It's-
better than last year, though, when Giovinazzi managed to put it into the wall. Now, he was a Ferrari hope.
Yeah.
Where's he gone now?
He's still at Sauber. He's just twiddling his thumbs.
Fair enough.
Just remind me of the last great driver that Ferrari gave us. There's not a
Long
brilliant history of
pause.
it, is there?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah,
Who's come up
Did-
through the Ferrari
Did
young
Sergio
driver?
Perez not come through there and then he went to Sauber?
I don't think so.
Was that something along those lines?
Perez may have been a Ferrari young driver. I can't remember.
I don't think so, because the only reason I don't think he was is because at that time when he was doing really good, there'd have been even more talk about him going to Ferrari if he was a
Yeah.
Ferrari driver.
He was on
Was
the
he?
Ferrari Young Driver program up to 2012.
Well remembered.
Check out my
Sean.
shitty trivia
Yeah.
knowledge.
No, that's good. That's not shitty. That's really
but
good.
then he
Strong
joined.
trivia.
Then he joined Sauber and McLaren stole him.
Yeah.
I know we
Jules-
never. Yeah, Jules Bianchi
Jules
was just what
Bianchi.
I was
I was
about
going
to
to say, yeah. Bianchi was, but like Lee was saying before, Bianchi was that Ferrari young driver. Okay, not in a race
Yeah,
car.
yeah.
Let's be honest, he was in
Yeah.
a poodle car at the back, but constantly ahead of his teammate,
Yeah.
constantly
Yeah.
battering his teammate
Yeah.
at every given opportunity. He was a second quicker at some
I'm
points.
just looking at the Ferrari Driver
Oh, go on,
Academy.
this should be good.
Former drivers: Jules Bianchi,
yeah, of course.
Mirko Bartolotti,
Nope.
Oh, Mrs. Bartolotti's son.
Yeah.
one season in GP3.
Okay.
Wow.
Daniel Zampieri,
Who?
That name is vaguely familiar, and I
one
don't know
season in
why.
Formula Renault 3.5 in 2010.
Okay.
Sergio Perez. Brandon Maizano,
No.
hasn't even got a Wikipedia page.
Wow.
1 year in Formula Abarth
What?
and 2 seasons in Italian Formula 3.
Formula Abarth is surely something that the
That's what-
Fiat Group has just made up to do
To put
with
the
its
young
youth.
Ferrari driver in, yeah.
I
Yeah.
just love the idea now of them all just all going around in baths.
Mate of mine's got on a bath. It's actually smaller than a bath.
They are tiny cars.
He,
Fiat 500s with steroids, basically.
Yeah. He used to have a massive Mercedes saloon before, and then he turned up to my house one day in this Abarth 500. He's like, oh, your car's had a baby. 2 drivers to go. Raffaele Marciello,
Oh, we know this name.
who keeps turning up in F2 and GP2, filling in for someone who's just been fired.
Must be about 40 by now, is he?
He's got to be. And the other Ferrari Academy young driver that's in Formula One, Lance Stroll.
Oh no.
Really?
Yep. Lance Stroll is a former driver on the Ferrari Young Driver program.
Is that
Do
like
you-
a thing? If you buy enough Ferraris, you become a Ferrari young
Well,
driver?
I was just about to say one of their
Maybe.
young drivers at the moment is an Alessi child, so
Yeah.
maybe that's just it. You just need the
Giuliano
right
Alessi.
dad
Giuliano
to
Alessi.
get you in.
Yeah, just
And
like
Pietro Fittipaldi,
what
yeah.
Enzo Fittipaldi.
Was it Enzo Fittipaldi?
Enzo is-
I thought Pietro was on the young driver.
No, it's
program.
Enzo that's on the Young Driver program.
Enzo Fittipaldi's got all the right names to be there. hasn't he?
Oh, yes.
Does he have the talent? We will find out at the end of this season's Italian F4 Championship.
Well, none of us will miss that.
Is that even on YouTube?
To be fair, I suppose the only way to say that, which is definitely a Ferrari way, is they buy the drivers they want. They don't necessarily grow them.
Yeah, that's probably, they're not into the whole Red Bull meat grinder sort of thing, are they?
No.
Bringing drivers through. just having a young driver academy is probably just something they feel they should probably do.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. Since Red Bull have come in, they keep going into the young driver shop,
Yeah.
and it's like a supermarket during the apocalypse. There's like 2 apples and a fridge magnet left.
Just thinking back, going back to what we were saying before, Italian Formula 4, I'd love to see that. It'd be a load of hand gestures out the car, wouldn't it? Just constantly.
Who was it? Which F2 driver last year was sponsored by a clothing company called Italian
I
Gestures?
think it was Charles Leclerc.
Was it?
I think, yeah. And it has like, why am I doing hand gestures on a podcast? But it had like the Italian hand gesture.
Yeah, everybody
shapes.
knows it. The meme, we've all seen
Yeah.
the meme.
That sounds like such a shitty hipster band, doesn't it?
Italian.
Unsigned hipster band.
Hi, we're Italian Gestures.
But yeah, they sponsored like
I'm working on a solo album at the No.
But yeah, they were like on the inside of the headrest, weren't they? They weren't like a high profile sponsor.
Right,
It's like
okay.
tucked in the corner.
Yes, because somebody got a screen grab of Davide Valsecchi interviewing him on the grid at the end of a qualifying session or a race.
Doing an Italian
Standing
gesture.
next to it saying Italian Gestures. It's like, yeah, this is just perfect.
Oh dear. Well, he's fluent in Italian, Charles Leclerc.
Valsecchi is my new Eddie Jordan.
Oh, he is commentary Marmite.
No, I tell you what he's like. He's like listening to a TV, so like a program that you want to watch, then going over the other side of the room, turning on a different channel and putting a different channel on that television, but turning it up slightly louder than the one you want to watch.
I would say that Davide Valsecchi to me is like watching a 6-year-old watching motorsport for the first time. It's like, whoa,
everything is amazing.
Oh my god! Ah, did you see he did that? He turned the wheel.
But this shouldn't be so surprising to him. He's supposed to be a racing driver.
who quit driving when he realised he wasn't going to make it to Formula 1.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, all right,
I
I'll
don't
go
think he
off.
ever wanted to go to Formula 1. I think he used GP2 as a stepping stone to get to commentary. It was just the way he took to get into media.
Well, he was a Lotus reserve driver and test
He's
driver.
not reserved in the slightest. That's the problem.
Might be the problem, actually.
Do you reckon that's it? He never got into Formula 1 because no one wanted to deal with that much radio. None of the engineers were like, I ain't having him in my ear all race.
He's like he'd be like the anti-Kimmy.
Yeah. Particularly as he was there around about...
Constantly talk to me. I don't know what I'm doing.
He was at Lotus around about the same time as Kimmy was their actual driver, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe, maybe that was the problem.
Yeah, that's it. Like the radio
We're
channels
like the
just don't
minimalist.
have the bandwidth.
I think he does a great job commentating on F2.
I find him
I
entertaining.
love his enthusiasm.
As you can see, well, I hate enthusiasm just in everybody.
That's the only thing you're enthusiastic about is your dislike of enthusiasm.
That's the Italian Gestures album name, isn't it? I hate enthusiasm.
Taking notes here. Why have I just mind taking notes? I've got a book and a pen in front of me.
I do that, and it's all because of Eddie Izzard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Moving on anyway to should we move on to Williams?
Yeah, moving on to Williams. Right, Force India then.
Yeah. Williams not the worst team, seeing as they're third on the list for this.
Williams not the
race.
worst team in this race.
No. But nowhere near where Williams should be or where Williams might like to be.
Or, to be honest, where most Formula One fans would like Williams to be.
Again, kind of like Sauber, they had a really anonymous race. Didn't see an awful lot of Williams doing anything.
No.
Although they did finish 14th, 15th. I don't know how close they were in proximity on track, but
I remember at one point listening to the commentary and they were like, oh, it's the first time this year a Williams has been running in the points.
After everybody had pitted
Briefly,
and they
number
hadn't.
9.
Yeah, it was just. I mean, we could go on for an entire show about how bad Williams are.
yeah,
at the
I
minute.
think Williams. I've got to be honest. I think Williams kind of lucked it a little bit, sort of finishing 14th and 15th. If I'm honest. And my theory behind this is when the safety car came out, a couple of cars that had already stopped had been lapped. Now they were Charles Leclerc and the 2 Toro Rossos, I think, possibly.
So.
Yeah, because they both Toro Rossos had to pit.
Yeah, and after
causing the safety
after
car.
causing the safety car. So I think Charles Leclerc and the two Toro Rossos had been lapped, and when the safety car came out, of course, they had to stay in line. They weren't allowed to go until they were told to go. Whereas Williams will have joined the back of that queue almost a lap ahead of those, three of the four cars that we've already mentioned. So I think they kind of lucked in. They were just lucky that they hadn't been lapped at that point, which is why they managed to maintain, just because of their pit stop strategy, they managed to maintain 14th and 15th rather than being 18th and 19th. Because I think we could quite easily have seen, in a normal-ish race, which wouldn't have been as exciting, Williams probably the last two cars on the grid.
When the safety car came out and the three cars unlapped themselves,
Yeah.
Gasly, who was one of those cars, ended up only 8 seconds behind Sorokin in the last Williams.
And he had a time penalty as well.
Yeah.
So without that, he'd have been ahead.
Yeah.
That's
not
something,
great.
isn't it? Yeah, because they used
because the safety car actually went before the lapped cars had joined the back
Well, yeah,
of
that's
the
what I was
snake.
going to say. Yeah, they used to let the lapped cars go around and rejoin, but now they just let them get far enough ahead that they're not going to be a hindrance when the race restarts. Which is really unfair. If you've been lapped, you sort of half a lap round, and then the race starts again. You're nowhere near the cars in front of you who are racing.
I tell you what, I know I've not been the biggest support. Well, not support is the wrong word, because if it all works out well, I'd like to see it happen. But as far as Kubica going into the car, but and as much as I don't think Formula One's probably the right place for him, I'm interested to see the comparative lap times when he gets a FP1 in that car,
which is in Austria, I think. But did anyone see virtual statman Sean Kelly's tweet about
Bet Robert Kubica's happy that he's not been put in the Williams car this season.
Yeah.
at least secretly he's kind of happy that he didn't get that race.
I think it's probably right, because let's face it, if he's got reduced motion in his hands, or his hand, giving him a difficult car to drive is going to make
It's not going to help.
It's not going to help.
It's going to
him.
make the job worse, and also this great return of Robert Kubica would be nothing in that Williams. I'm sure he could do a better job than the two who are in the car at the moment. I've been quite vocal about that in the past.
I do. Now you say Austria.
Williams have taken a measured approach, and unfortunately they've measured it way too safely.
Yeah, it does make me wonder how capable he is if they're giving him FP1 in Austria, which is an incredibly short track and not what you'd call the most challenging.
It's like they want to ease him in.
Yeah, it's because it's a small Grand Prix circuit or an exceptionally big kart track.
The second one.
Yeah, so
Point squirt and a couple of 90 degrees.
I mean, what was the qualifying time for that last year?
1 minute 9, I think, in Austria.
You're
Oh, no,
gonna-
1 minute 8 even, possibly.
Well, it might even be bordering with the cars being faster this year. You might be getting towards that being a minute lap.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. I didn't even think about that. The cars being like a couple of seconds quicker a lap. Yeah, it could be looking at like 1 minute 5, 1 minute 4. That race is going to be over in less than an hour.
Yeah. Well, but especially given the fact that it's just big long straights and straights is a better word for it, I suppose. I'd imagine the cars are going to be awfully quick around there.
Well, yeah, Paul last year was 1 minute 4.25.
1 minute 4.
Jesus.
Right. So you could be looking
The
at a minute
sub-minute.
lap.
Yeah, 59 second lap.
How many laps is it in that race?
71?
Spot on.
Wow.
Yes.
Fucking good man. That's gonna be a short race.
I mean, it's not massively short. It's still 2.6 miles. It's just
Quick.
there's just lots of straights.
Yeah.
And
Well, you've got the first straight. I mean, you got the main start finish straight.
Mm-hmm.
You got that awkward first turn.
Yeah.
And then a really long straight,
Mm-hmm.
and then another awkward second turn, and then a really long straight, and then
Well, they're all runways,
Then-
aren't they? Really,
Yeah, yeah,
straight.
but
yeah,
then
then there's the
it's
curved
all-
bit which you can practically take flat out, as they showed last
They
year.
will be taking that flat out this year.
They will be, yeah. It's a bit twisty until you get back around to that main straight, but albeit it's not actually that long. 59-second lap. That might be worth. If anybody would take that bet, that might be worth giving it a go.
But going back to Williams, just as anonymous as Sauber have been. Do you remember saying that?
I don't.
Yeah, I remember
I don't
saying
think they
it.
are anonymous, though, are they? Because they're notable in their poorness.
I mean, well, the only time we saw Williams this week was during the safety car because they were part of the snake.
Mm.
And
Yeah, I don't remember.
No, neither driver did anything sort of really notable.
I mean, do you know what? I can't even remember where they qualified. They were out in Q1, though, weren't they? Both Williams.
Again, yeah.
Yeah. So to finish 14th and 15th, okay, a slight move forward.
After qualifying 16th and 18th.
Yeah. So a slight move forward, but it's not really anything to write home about at the moment. Hopefully improvements will come.
Lance Stroll gets someone to do it for him.
He emails, eh?
Well, he didn't bring his A game.
No, he definitely didn't.
It's twice this weekend I've got that joking. Force India next.
Mild signs of improvement. Mild signs of improvement from Force India.
But in qualifying, it looked like it was going to be better than it actually was. Didn't
Yeah, it looked like Force India might actually have made that, waited a couple of races like they did last year, and then made that leap forward.
it?
But
Spain's going to be massive for that team.
for Force India,
Yeah.
because that'll shape the rest of their year, really, won't it?
Yeah.
I mean, both cars finished just outside the point line, Astern 11th and 12th. Ocon again getting the better of Perez.
Yeah, but not by a massive amount.
No, I mean, was it Bahrain or I can't remember which race it was, but we saw Perez getting the better of Ocon. But generally speaking, Ocon tends to get the better of Perez.
Yeah,
I mean,
team.
well,
but-
Ocon was about a tenth behind Perez in Q2 when
Yeah.
Ocon went out. I mean, when Perez qualified 8th, I thought, I think we're going to see a Force India performance this weekend. And the kind of, I don't know, the only way to describe them is like the opposite to McLaren. They've got a better one-lap pace than they have race pace.
Yeah, they also got Perez's pit strategy. I don't know about Ocon because I didn't really pay that much attention to it at the time, but Perez's pit strategy was horrifically wrong. They pitted him after about the second or third lap of the safety car. They didn't take advantage in the first lap or when everyone when everybody else came in. They waited a couple of laps, so he lost a lot of places when he eventually took that pit stop. Because everybody else was in, as you said before, it was in that train. They were in the snake. They were following each other, and okay, you might not have lost as many as if they were racing, but by the time the safety car's done 2 or 3 laps, it's damage limitation rather than trying to gain an advantage, isn't it?
It is interesting, though, isn't it? In a year where Mercedes don't seem to be enjoying the Mercedes advantage that we're used to, yeah?
Yeah.
It's interesting to see that the Mercedes customer teams are having their worst years for a while.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. That is interesting. It's notable as well to point
Yeah.
out when you look at how well the Renault powered teams appear to be improving slightly as the season is unfolding.
Maybe this,
Red Bull might disagree with that, but we'll get to that later.
I think party mode, the party's over.
Yeah, I don't think there ever was a party mode, which,
No.
which is what Mercedes were always saying, isn't it?
Yeah.
Party mode. We've got a qualifying mode, but so does everyone else.
Yeah.
I just don't understand why Force India have managed to. They've just not built a car around the engine this year.
Yeah, it's strange. I mean, the other thing I find weird about Force India too is Esteban Ocon doesn't look like Mercedes elect now at the minute. Unless there's a big change in pace.
It's difficult to tell. We know that Ocon and Perez are usually quite closely matched, and if Ocon can keep keep Perez pinned,
Yeah.
keep himself as that number one driver at Force India, he could still be within a shout.
But the thing is, I don't consider Perez as the like a top team driver.
I do,
Only if Ferrari need a bitch.
yeah, but I think that.
But Ferrari's a different thing, isn't it?
No, but I think if in the same way that we were talking about before, like Bianchi was constantly hammering Chilton at Marussia, whatever they became,
Yeah.
Manor, before before he had his accident, he was always ahead of
Well
Chilton.
done. So yeah, sometimes by a
but-
couple of seconds, like you said.
Yeah. If Ocon can do that to Perez, I think he will. Doesn't matter how poor the car is or how good that car is. If Ocon
Yeah.
can do that to Perez, that will still hold him in good stead.
I think
If a seat becomes available at Mercedes, as we suspect might happen at the end of this year.
I think the fact that Bottas is still under threat, given the fact that he can score podiums and he can score points. Yeah, I know he didn't win that race, which he probably should have done. But just the fact that he's under threat shows that Mercedes want a driver to keep Hamilton honest. They
Yeah.
don't want a Massa for Hamilton.
Yeah.
And I don't like if Ocon can just stay ahead of Perez, there's no way he's going to keep Hamilton honest.
No.
No, he's going to want the wins himself.
Yeah. Well, no, I just think you get battered by Hamilton.
Yeah, it would take. As I say, you'd have to be significantly ahead of Perez.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, I think we're not going to silly season conjecture just yet, but I think there are other better drivers out there.
No,
available.
we haven't got as far as Red Bull yet.
Exactly.
It's the reverse of what I think when we talk about McLaren later. I think if Ocon wanted to be in line for that Mercedes drive, he'd need a similar gap to what we consistently see between Fernando and
Van Dorn.
Van Dorn.
Yeah. It's not unfair to say.
Right, point scoring teams now. Haas. Oh look, a binary result.
What happened to Romain Grosjean, everyone?
His tyres weren't heating up.
And why would your tyres not heat up when they're working for everyone else?
You're doing
Because
something
you're a
wrong.
whiny little bitch.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. If everyone else, including the teammate, all right, okay, they were on different strategies, but if everyone else, including the teammate, can get things right and get things working to the right temperature delta, and you can't,
Yeah, that suggests you're the problem.
exactly.
There does always tend to be something to moan about when he's not having a good day.
Yeah,
Right,
I think
they
he
were on
is-
they were on different strategies. They were also 26 seconds apart
Well,
at the end of the race.
And 7 places, a 10th place for
Wow.
Kevin Mag. Can I just say it now? K-Mag for president. And Romain Grosjean was 17th. All right, we are used to seeing, like we said, binary performances from Haas, especially in 2017. But the nature in which Kevin Magnussen has suddenly become, I wouldn't say the team leader just yet, but Kevin Magnussen has become the
best they've got.
the head, that sort of head
the
down.
more dependable of the two.
Yeah, the head down, consistent driver, whereas Grosjean is, I don't know what's going on. What's this? Help. Yeah, that, to me, rings alarm bells a little bit.
Yeah.
In the not that Grosjean's suddenly become a terrible driver. He hasn't, and he isn't. But when he puts himself, I get the feeling that he puts himself under an awful lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And when things start going wrong for him, he doesn't just have a bad day and go home and think, oh, bad day, well, never mind, I'll sleep on it and tomorrow's a new day.
Oh, I'll do some cooking.
Yeah. I'll go home and do some cooking with Marion, and then then I'll feel fine after I've had a beer. And
Patrons will know what that means.
And I think he lets it fester. I think he lets it. He doesn't let it go. He needs to watch Frozen because he doesn't know.
What, he's a 6-year-old girl?
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much. Sounds like one sometimes. He just needs to let it go, and he won't.
Yeah,
I don't think you're a million miles away. Like I find it's interesting again with him that Magnussen surprised me this year, but Grosjean seems to have, now the car's got good and he doesn't have a bad car to hide behind a little bit. It just seems to have dropped away completely.
Yeah, I mean, the Haas is so much improved. However they've done it, I don't give a toss. It's Grosjean that wants to be a Ferrari driver, right?
I just concentrate on
Grosjean
drive day of Formula
because,
One.
I mean,
driver.
we've said this before, and we've seen it countless times in various media. Grosjean went to Haas because that was his best shot at getting in a Ferrari.
Yeah,
Conspiracy theory is this Haas is a Ferrari.
yeah,
Grosjean can't drive this car.
yeah.
Yeah.
What chance has he got of driving a real Ferrari?
Well, I think this is, 2 races in a row now where he's had to move over for his teammate, so that might be quite helpful.
He was on the blower quite early, wasn't he? Because it was lap 5, lap 6,
something like that.
When Haas were like, "Oh, come on, you're on different strategies, different strategies entirely.
Yeah.
You're on different strategies. Let Kevin through." And he did. He did let him through, but he was on the radio and he, "Come on, guys, just the first bleep laps." Well,
Yeah.
Your team didn't put you in that mood. You put yourself
Yeah.
in that mood.
Yeah.
He could have chosen to be like, "All right, okay, I'll let him go now, but
Yeah.
I'm going to make my strategy work better for me
Well,
and come out on top."
to play devil's advocate for him, especially with there being such a big gap between them.
Yeah.
Um,
Bear in mind, Romain Grosjean finished behind the Williamses.
yeah, but it's always that thing, isn't it? If you split your strategies, you're going to get it wrong with one car. So this might not be 100% Grosjean problem.
Explain his performance this season then.
Oh no, all I'm saying is just for that race, if you're going to split your strategies, it's going to work out better for one guy than the other guy.
Usually, yeah. I mean, the thing is, you're going to get it wrong with at least one car. You can get it wrong with both.
That gap suggests to me that did he pit under the safety car, or did Magnussen Magnussen pit under the safety car? I wonder, because if his strategy left him in the position where he wasn't pitting,
Yeah, I think
That could
Grosjean
be a thing.
may have missed out under the safety
Yeah.
car. Some drivers gained, some drivers lost.
Possibly it means going back and having a look at the live blog.
Yeah, but but the safety car was what, lap 19, lap 20, something like that.
Yeah.
And Grosjean was 17th. Marcus Ericsson was 16th. So he hasn't got. He had the rest of that race to catch him past Marcus Ericsson, and he didn't. And he should have been able to, because that Haas is far superior to this year's Sauber.
Yeah.
I think we can be very confident in saying that.
Yeah. Obviously, this car just doesn't suit him.
Possibly, but I mean, I would find it surprising if Haas had just suddenly built a car around Kevin Magnussen.
It must be made of Lego then.
yeah.
And Dane pack bacon. Other bacon is available.
Yeah, we're going to carry on seeing binary Haas results. Yes, probably, and do.
In favour of Kevin Magnussen.
And I
probably.
was going to say, is it going to be K-Mag that's the 1 and Grosjean that's the 0? Damn good chance.
Yeah. At the moment, anyway. I mean, it could all change very quickly, but yeah, at the moment, Kevin Magnussen's looking strong.
Don't forget, we've got Baku in 2 weeks, and that is an absolute swine on the brakes.
Yeah.
So,
Well, they appear to sort their problems out with the brakes, don't they?
but you
let's see
can't
what
spell
happens.
swine without wine.
No, correct.
McLaren. Binary team number 2. Sorry, binary team number 10. 7th for Alonso, 13th for Stoffel. Stoffel is not.
Not bringing it, is he really?
There's something missing.
Yeah, I like Stoffel. I like the way he comes across in the media, and I was watching him tear up GP2. The couple of years he was in GP2, nearly won the championship in his first year. Hammered it in the second year. Had it sewn up well early,
They
but
won it by June.
yeah, basically. And then it looked like he was going to be the real deal. And then he's come to McLaren. He's did well in his first race, but struggled a little bit since he's been a full-time team member.
Yeah, I mean, he's never had what you call the car that he'd want to come into Formula One with. But
No.
He's never had your support because they got rid of Jensen for him.
apart from that, but I don't know. I just think if they're going to have to put Lando in that car next year if Alonso's there, because Alonso is on a he's on a time limit now, isn't he? Of how long he's going to be around Formula One. He might not be around next year for all we know.
This could be his final
This,
season.
this multi-year contract could just be with Zach Brown Inc. And he drives whatever Zach Brown's in charge
no,
of.
the fucking Alonso's contract is going to have so many options in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like and don't forget, right? If he's had the power to essentially plaster his clothing company all over McLaren,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
anything to do with McLaren has got one of his clothing companies on it at the minute. If he's had that sort of power in negotiations, then it's his ball.
Yeah.
You know,
It's worth
Best tweet I saw in the best tweet in response that I saw in the run up to the Grand Prix was on Wednesday. Fernando tweeted, "Massive announcement coming tomorrow."
Oh.
To which somebody replied, "Oh, great, new Kimoa hat."
It's worth pointing out as well, whilst we're talking about McLaren, that there's been a big sort
Sure,
of...
we've got another half an hour of this.
Yeah, I know. the management restructuring, which, in all honesty, isn't much of a management restructuring.
No.
And some people, I get the feeling, read the headline of the story and thought, ha 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 ha, oh, they got rid of people. No, they
They've
haven't.
just given everyone a new job title,
Yeah.
really.
Well,
Everyone move one to the left.
yeah. Well, not even that. Everyone's been you've been doing that job anyway. We're gonna make it official so that if something goes fucking wrong, you're actually officially responsible for it. That's
Effectively, Malibu Stacy's got a new hat.
I think it's
Yeah,
just because
pretty much.
the owners of McLaren want Zach to report directly to them.
Yeah.
So that means they put him in a position where Eric Bully reports directly to him, and then he goes back and speaks to them.
And Jonathan Neal as well has to
Yeah.
report directly to Zach Brown.
So, like you say, there's a point of blame.
Yeah.
Yeah, after they were embarrassed at their home race.
Yeah. Which, to be
Or
perfect,
their home qualifying. All right, they pulled it out in the end of the
Yeah.
race, but
but I mean, they're not going to win a world championship in the first year with a car with a new engine. Don't get me wrong, they should. We thought they'd be better. I thought they'd be up with Red Bull.
Yeah. No, I saw a technical article actually earlier today that just said, I mean, the McLaren car is, what's their problem? They've got rid of the Honda engine. Why aren't they performing as well as the other Renault powered teams?
Yeah.
I would actually say they're probably not that far off the Renault main team. Although Renault main team, we'll get onto them very soon, but I think they're developing faster than anyone else will do for the rest of the season.
Well, see, don't forget McLaren are pretty prolific at
Yeah.
in the development race.
Yeah. But the McLaren car allegedly uses too much drag that's not downforce producing, if you know what I mean.
It would explain why they're always slow in the speed traps.
Yeah, that's the thinking behind it.
having a rear wing that's entirely made out of Kimoa baseball caps probably doesn't
No,
help.
probably not.
Yeah, well, isn't Fernando allowed to wear his inside the car, like just under? They've specially shaped his helmet so he can have it.
I tell you what, it's funny though, isn't it? That McLaren spent the last 3 years complaining about power. They get a more powerful engine, they fuck it up with aero drag.
Well, they're not used to it, are they?
Yeah, that's true. Do you know what? That could be a point. The fact that they've been trying to make up for a lack of engine power by sticking as much downforce as they can so they can be quick in the twisty bits.
And we don't like Eric Boulier, but he's been very honest in saying that McLaren are behind where they want to be development-wise.
We think he's been honest. He's been very Eric. You can never tell.
Yeah, you can't really tell. And the updates that were supposed to come to Australia, some of them went to Bahrain, so some of them would have stayed in China. They're now not going to bother until Spain.
Yeah.
They've decided they're not going to bother any more updates until Spain.
Well, I mean, there's no point in Baku because that is just no aero on the car and turn the engine up to 11.
Yeah.
If you can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where did Stoffel finish? He was outside the points.
13th.
13th.
Yeah, so ahead of the Williamses, but behind Ocon and Perez.
How far behind Alonso?
He was. Let me just have a look. Where's Alonso? Alonso was 30.6 down on the lead. Stoffel was nearly 19 seconds behind Fernando.
Half a second off in qualifying.
And 19 seconds down in the race.
Not ideal.
No, not ideal. But the positive thing to look at here as well is Alonso's points total so far for this year after 3 rounds. 22 points. For the whole of 2017, he only scored 17 points. So he's already 5 points up on last year's total. So it's a success as far as McLaren are concerned already.
I mean, Alonso said at the end of Bahrain that their position in both championships was down to coincidence.
Well, it was, yeah, because you had a Red Bull double retirement in Bahrain, and shenanigans elsewhere. But yeah, I mean,
You've got to take what you get.
of course,
Yeah.
you can only do. I said this to Paul a couple of times yesterday, and I think I stole the actual thing from Paul. Actually, you can only deal with what's in front of you, and there's nobody better at doing that than Fernando Alonso.
Well, that's the thing. You can say it was because of coincidence, but the reason that they could take advantage of the coincidence is because his car was there to do it.
Yeah,
Like Stoffel hasn't been able to take advantage of opportunities that have been coming along because he's already too far back.
Yeah.
But sorry, that's what I was going to say before. I think they're going to have to get Lando in the car next year if Alonso's there, because would you like to find out that, say they leave Stoffel in next year, see how he gets on, Fernando decides to retire after next year.
Stoffel and Lando.
Yeah, but would you want Stoffel to then be your experienced Formula One driver with your rookie?
I don't know. It depends how he does for the rest of the season, but at the moment the answer is no.
But even
Lance Stroll syndrome.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you'd end up in a Williams position.
well, the other thing you might want is if you who knows? Because Lando could come into Formula One and be exactly the same as Van Dorn. Success is never guaranteed.
Yeah.
But if you suddenly you're shifting like this is our next guy, you would want him to have a full season with somebody like Alonso.
Lando, you mean? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I may be a little bit behind on stats, by the way, Lee. Your internet has just gone kaput.
That's
Weird.
I would say that the Alonso Lando thing would be pointed more towards as well because of what happened in the Daytona 24-hour with Zach Brown's racing team, which was Nando, Lando, and Phil.
Hando.
Hando, yeah. Nando, Lando, and Hando. But yeah, they've worked together already, and if you remember at the time, Lee, we were saying about the dossiers that Fernando Alonso was just coming up with. All right, he'd not driven one of those cars, particularly frequently before that. He just came up with this stuff. Like, this is what needs to change. This is how it should work. This is what I've noticed. Like a big, thick 24-page booklet.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Fernando's points, and
when we were at McLaren when we met Lando Norris, did you hear that name I just dropped? He was saying the amount of information that Fernando sends in an email at the end of each testing session.
Yeah, it was crazy.
yeah.
And I think he'd do the same for him in F1. And
Sends directly to Lando? Or
Yeah.
just well, there you go, you see.
No, it's to the team.
well, it's to the team. He shares every bit of information and feedback.
Which is good. That's exactly what you want.
It's kind of the opposite of what Michael Schumacher and his side of the garage used to do.
Yeah, but Fernando Alonso has this reputation in the paddock as well for being able to remember ridiculous details of things that have happened in races. Somebody asked him after a race, I think it was when he was driving for Renault the second time.
It's like Sean Kelly with a super license.
Essentially, yeah. Somebody asked him about what happened during a race, and he said, "Well, at turn 5 on lap 36, I had a bit of an understeer going into one of the corners, and it made me nervous every time I came around to it. Then, so I had to back off a little bit to save the tires." And apparently everyone was like, "How the hell did he remember that it was turn 5, lap 36?"
Yeah.
I'm going back through the footage. Sure enough, lap 5, or turn whatever it was.
Turn 36?
Yeah.
He's not doing Le Mans until June.
No. Turn 5, lap 36. That's where he understood. Everyone was like, I cannot believe Fernando Alonso remembered that.
Actually, talking of Le Mans, I'm going to launch the Patreon challenge for that now.
Yeah.
If we get 100 new patrons by the time of Le Mans, we'll live blog it.
Nice.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, it's got to be 100 new patrons, and we're on about 140 at the minute. So I'll tell you what, let's make it. If we've got 250 patrons by Le Mans weekend, we'll do the live blog.
So how would people become a patron?
They would go to the Patreon site and our page on there. So it's patreon.com/3legs4wheels.
Yep.
Sign up there, little as $1 a month. Extra rewards, including an extra non-F1 podcast.
Yeah, and then you can join if we get the numbers that we require. Then we will we'll live blog Le Mans, and
We'll all join in with the live blog for this year's
Are you going to
Le Mans.
have a shift pattern and a rota this year?
absolutely, yeah. That's
we
only fair.
had one last year. I wasn't allowed to shift from the sofa for 24 hours.
And you'll have a full conversation open with us, or at least one of us, for the whole 24 hours.
Yeah. So we will do that, but we need to get, and we've got the number of patrons that's actually signed up on the webpage as it stands. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if we hit 250 patrons by Le Mans, we will live blog it. Do you know what we've just done?
Oh, it needs to be $1, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You don't have to go in for the big ones.
You can if you want.
You can if you want. $5 seems fair.
Yeah, I mean, it keeps us in things like microphones, cables,
Yeah.
software,
For
Yeah.
24-hour races, energy drinks.
forget-
energy drinks.
Yeah. Also, don't forget that this costs us money to give to
Yeah.
these people.
Yeah. Costs us money to give to these people. You mean Cloud Above, who are our hosting company?
Yes.
Don't forget, if you only give $1,
Who are
you get
legends.
4 shows a week. It's 20
Month.
Not
Not four shows a week.
Sorry, whoa.
One show a week, four a month.
4 shows a month. It's 25 cents a show. That's ripping us off. Basically stealing from us. So $5 seems fine.
Yeah.
But do you know what we've just done here? Something that E ESPN haven't done for the last 2 races. We've just had commercials.
Oh no. No, but it was our own commercial. Let's be honest.
Yeah, we're plugging it. It was a promo midway through.
For our own services.
Yeah. Which, talking of which, putting in it's still based on F1, but downloaded the highlights of the Grand Prix for Sian to watch when she got back, because you got back sort of about
Yep.
6 o'clock, 6:30
Yes,
tonight.
yes.
Didn't have time to watch the full race because you had a weekend away. And I just happened to notice as we were zapping through the adverts before the F1 highlights, which you can only download if you've got a subscription to Sky F1.
Yeah.
So Sky Sports F1, the F1, dedicated F1 channel. There was an advert for Sky Sports F1. So they were advertising something that you're already paying to watch on a channel that you've got to pay to watch it.
The thing is, as well, you're downloading it, so you're obviously going to be fast
Do
forwarding,
you know
so
what?
no
I
one's
think
watching
that's
that.
I think that's to troll the people who illegally stream or download.
Probably.
Yeah.
Illegally share it. So it's just like, I've illegally shared this file. So I was like,
It wasn't one of those races that they randomly threw it on Sky One, was it?
No, it wasn't.
I don't think so.
No. It was... no, it was an advert for the channel that you had to pay to be able to download this particular catch-up show.
Yeah.
It's like when you buy something off Amazon, like 2 days later, they're like, "Oh, you've bought this. Buy this again.
yeah, but
Yeah.
you bought this. You might like this.
You need another one."
What?
But I've already got it.
That's the same thing. That's the downgraded version of what I've just bought.
Yeah, I ordered the 360 camera for the podcast, which we are going to start using soon, when I've had a chance to actually work out how it works. 2 days later, would you like to buy another Samsung 360-degree camera? What? Watch videos in 720 degrees?
Yeah, not only can you see the front of my head, but you can also see the back of my head.
Just ring of 360-degree cameras around the room. You can get us from every conceivable angle.
That's weird.
Terrifying.
Yeah, I got... Seeing as we're doing the sort of mid-season break on the race,
Yeah.
playing Drive Club VR at the weekend.
Good.
I don't know, I had to stop after 10 minutes. I was getting car sick.
Apparently, because I've heard good things about Wipeout, but apparently Drive Club in VR looks like dick.
What? This is not what you're supposed to be using VR for.
Anything a little bit sort of further away than I'd probably say about 30 metres is a bit blurry.
Yeah.
I think that's what was causing me to get sort of... I was...
No, but apparently it's all low res to fuck.
No, the resolution's all right. Come round and have a look at it sometime.
No, I don't mean like the screen resolution. I mean like the textures and stuff like that. They've stripped all the high res textures out of it to make it work.
For the backgrounds, they could be better. The cars are fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, the scenery could be a little bit better. But like I say, I put my foot down and thought something's wrong here.
Were you in the car? Were you in car or were you out of the car?
I was in car.
Yeah, because I was going to say if you're flying along behind it, I can understand why that might make you feel a bit queasy.
No, I was feeling queasy actually from the driver's seat view. It's
I can't wait to watch you play Wipeout then.
oh no, I'm not looking forward to that.
Flying along behind the car. Just like looking around in VR, like, this is weird. I feel like I'm a really fast drone.
Yeah, I think I'll be only looking for VR games that say VR mode gentle.
Anyway,
I've got to ease myself into it gradually, just like I'm easing myself into the next thing, which is Renault.
it is. Get this man a
fuck yeah, we're
segue.
doing a Formula 1 podcast.
Yeah. I've gone all Patreon for a minute. You see, that's an example of the kind of tangents that we go off on the Patreon shows.
Yeah,
We do it on this show quite often as well.
Yeah, fair
But we
point.
shouldn't.
Fair point. Well, mate, I don't know. It keeps us interested.
Right, we're having a tangent about having a tangent. Come on.
Right, Renault. You got to feel for Hulk because he was only 0.4 of a second off finishing fifth.
Hulk smashed.
Yeah, Hulk did smash, and it was the only 0.4 of a second off finishing fifth because of Verstappen's time penalty.
Yes,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
still.
Yeah, but no, but Hulk was running fifth. I did do the alert that Hulkenberg was running fifth.
The other thing for this season is he's good at qualifying seventh.
Well, and also
That's his new thing.
Also, Lee was saying this. I don't know if this was before Paul and Sean got here tonight or not, but Lee was saying this: just how ordinary Nico Hulkenberg is making Carlos Sainz look at the moment.
Absolutely.
Bearing in mind that, as you said earlier, Lee, that Carlos Sainz was keeping Verstappen honest when they were both at Toro Rosso together. They were very evenly matched. It was just like, ooh, well, which one of them would get? Oh, bless you.
You.
Oh, shit. Sorry.
Which one of
There's
those?
a sneeze.
That's been brewing for like an hour.
Yeah, I did give a warning of that just before we started
And
recording.
we're 55 minutes
Ooh,
in.
That's yeah. It's been a weight off my mind.
Yeah, it's now all over the carpet.
Lee, I'm sorry if I got your biscuit then.
Oh dear.
For some reason, I turned towards you.
Oh, well.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lee eats his biscuits. So yeah, Lee was saying before we were recording, sort of, Sainz was given the sort of super kid tag. Along with Max Verstappen, they were both sort of on equal footing until Verstappen got the drive at Red Bull. Don't forget that Sainz is at Renault because he felt he was being treated unfairly at Toro Rosso, felt like he could do better in a bigger team. He's
Yeah.
essentially on loan, isn't he? At Renault from Red Bull.
Yeah, hence all the Red Bull logos on his helmet.
Yeah, until a seat becomes available at Red Bull, which conjecture and speculation.
Silly season starts in 3 teams' time.
Exactly. But the finishing ninth in a race when your teammate finishes sixth.
And there was no
And it's-
real problems, was there?
No, I mean, it's not like... Okay, he had a couple of races at the end of last year to sort of get used to the team, but if he's the wonder kid that we're led to believe he is, or was, he's more like Wonder Man now, then...
No, that was Danny Kaye. Bloody good film, though. It's one of my favourites when I was a kid.
The
Yes, it was in black and white.
but Hulkenberg is
You get
basically...
cave paints in black and white.
But Hulkenberg has put Sainz in his place quite firmly, and I don't think it's got anything to do with the fact now that Hulkenberg has been at the team slightly longer than Sainz. I don't think that's anything to do with it. I just think at the moment, Hulkenberg is probably the most underrated driver on the grid.
Well, last year was Hulk's first year in Renault, wasn't it?
Full year, yeah.
And he sort of hit the ground running with what he was given,
Yeah.
I'd say.
Put Palmer in his place quite quickly.
Yeah. So I don't get it. I don't even if Carlos was behind him, it's another Ocon
Perez.
Perez situation, isn't it? Where you think, well, hang on a second, if you do want to do what everyone's expecting of you,
Yeah.
then you
Well,
need...
don't forget as well, like Hulkenberg put Perez in his place quite often at Force India.
Yeah. Well, I think Hulkenberg's a better driver than Perez.
And I've got a theory about Renault, as I was sort of alluding to before. I think that Renault are probably going to be the strongest developing team as the season moves on. I think they've started quite basic, because remember they've got a plan to be fighting for a world championship by 2020. They want podiums this year if they can get them, race wins next year, and then
Yeah.
to be fighting for a championship in 2020.
I think they could get a podium this year, but it's going to involve shenanigans.
It would be Hulkenberg's first podium as well if he managed it, breaking the record for the
Well,
longest.
Science has got that nailed to the ground.
There have already been, certainly in Bahrain, they brought a new halo. I don't know whether they stuck with it or not, but it was only on Hulkenberg's car in practice. So whether or not he's still getting first dibs on
Yeah.
the new stuff,
Yeah, but
that
it was-
might be
it was
helping
the
him a little
speed
bit.
at which they developed last year, because
Yeah.
Renault 2017, they started the season off, they were right down, sort of near the back. I was like, well, that's okay, it's their first full season as Renault.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the season, after they did that redesigned floor at the Hungarian Grand Prix, that's when we start seeing Renault consistently in the points.
No. That's when we started seeing Hulkenberg
Hulkenberg
consistently in the points.
Yeah.
I mean,
And then towards the end of the season, again, Hulkenberg was fighting for 5th, 6th place. And
Yeah.
he started now, okay, we're only 3 races in, started now doing it again.
Yeah, I mean,
You've
7th
got-
and 2/6 already.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got clearly Red Bull, Mercedes, Ferrari are the three teams that we're going to be looking at as sort of at the pointy end of things.
Yeah.
In normal races. I wouldn't mind betting that Renault are the best of the rest come the end of the season. Maybe not even that late on.
I don't know. I think Haas might still be there.
Has to be there or thereabouts, but traditionally they do drop off later on in the season. I think Renault are going to do the reverse. I think Renault are just going to continue improving.
Let's look at it this way. There's been 6 possible point scoring finishes for each team.
Yeah.
Only Mercedes have scored
Six points
times.
finishes.
Renault have got 5.
And Hulkenberg scored all 3 of his.
Hulkenberg scored 3. Sainz was 11th in Bahrain.
Yeah.
But if they're going to improve during the season, and they're already on a par for point scoring finishes with Ferrari and, admittedly with shenanigans, McLaren,
Yeah.
and they're going to improve. I think Renault might bet for 4th this year.
Yeah, I think Renault is a decent shout for 4th.
Yeah.
Their development curve is always strong, and I think that it will be again this year. I think they've started off basic.
And they now are in a position to take advantage of it, where they've got 2 drivers that can score points.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think you got a good shout there because, like you say, Haas generally don't develop too well through a season. McLaren, I think McLaren could end up being best of the rest by car.
Yeah.
By the time we get to the end of the season. But if they've like in a similar situation to Haas, if they've only got one guy that's actually doing the job all year, then you're probably right. Yeah, you're better off having 2 drivers finishing 5th and 6th, and one guy 4th and the other guy 11th.
Yeah, you'll be in a position where Fernando Alonso is the best of the rest as the drivers.
Yeah.
But Renault are ahead of McLaren in the
Yeah.
Because
in the
Hulkenberg and
constructors.
Sainz is a stronger lineup
Yeah.
than Alonso and Van Dorn.
Yeah.
We managed to bring it back to bloody McLaren again.
Oh yeah.
That was Lee.
Next up, Ferrari.
well,
A tale of 2 races.
not really.
Well, yeah, one before the safety car and one after.
No, not even before the safety car. Ferrari's lesson. Ferrari'd themselves again. How to throw away a race.
Kimi Räikkönen is now the sacrificial goat, or lamb, animal of choice.
Did Finland have a national animal? Rabbit.
Some kind of reindeer? Or
Ice.
It would be something
Is ice an animal?
Arctic and hardy.
No, Lee. Ice is not an animal.
Is vodka an animal?
Sacrificial polar bear.
Possibly sacrificial polar bear, but the
I mean, it'd take a lot of people to sort of tie it up. But
all right. First race of the season, we were convinced that Mercedes would probably have the pace, yeah, and Ferrari won that race.
and if anyone's good with Photoshop, then Kimi Räikkönen is the sacrificial polar bear. So, get your memes started.
I don't think we should be sticking pictures of Kimmy's face on pictures of polar bears getting hacked apart by knives.
No,
Don't go for the blood, just...
That's what you're asking them to do.
No!
Sacrificial polar bears. I think we should leave that alone.
I think we should definitely leave that alone, and I'll carry on talking about Ferrari.
Yes.
That must be bad when Lee's the voice of reason.
Just
We
quickly,
thought-
according to Wikipedia, the national animal of Finland is a brown bear.
Brown bear.
Yes.
Fair enough.
And they also have a national butterfly and a national fish for some
Sean,
reason.
I think you'll find it's 2018 and that's a bear of colour.
Ah, okay, sorry about that. Not being racist to the bears.
Like, starting at the beginning of the season, we're going into the Australian Grand Prix. We thought Mercedes would have it, and they didn't. Ferrari won that race. And then we thought Bahrain, okay, well, Mercedes will bounce back, and they didn't. Ferrari won that as well. So this time out, when Ferrari had a really strong Saturday and qualified like half a second ahead of the Mercedes cars, locked out the front row, it was just like, we can't really look past Ferrari, can you, for this? This is turning into a Ferrari season rather than the Mercedes year.
Yeah.
Ferrari have got the perfect opportunity here to control this race, and they were reactionary. They reacted to undercuts rather than trying to force them themselves.
Yeah.
Max Verstappen didn't look past Ferrari.
No.
No.
Well, the thing was, they were
And they sacrificed, as you just said, they sacrificed Kimi Raikkonen when they didn't have to, and that completely ruined Ferrari's race, because in the turn of events that eventually happened, had they not sacrificed Kimi Raikkonen and maybe put him on a similar strategy to Seb, he could possibly have been a lot closer to the front.
Well, you see, the thing, what I don't get, I mean, obviously I'm not a Formula One strategist, but if Red Bull pit Verstappen and Ricciardo to try and pull the undercut, yeah?
Double stacked them, yeah.
So if you're
Twice.
Ferrari,
Yeah.
do you not think, well, hang on, they're trying to do that to undercut people? Surely we should pit now to take the opportunity away from Mercedes to undercut us. That's fucking simple, surely.
Mercedes obviously thought that's what they might do as well, because when they pitted Hamilton, they told him to do the opposite to Raikkonen.
Yeah.
So they obviously thought, oh, Raikkonen might come in here.
Yeah, yeah.
And didn't.
I don't get it. I mean, again, I think was it last was it the last race? Was it Bahrain that was the last race?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said when
really hit that beer festival hard on
Yeah.
Thursday, didn't you?
when they sacrificed Kimi again in Bahrain, I think I tweeted up saying the next time Kimi pits is going to be China.
Yeah, I can't believe that Ferrari think it's just acceptable to throw away one race, because that's essentially what it's doing.
Yeah.
Throw away one race strategy to try and hold up a driver to allow
Another one.
another one to get close. And it almost worked, but I mean, it didn't.
The only thing I will give Ferrari in that point is I don't think anybody expected Bottas to be quite as aggressive and like deliberate in getting past Raikkonen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
He put a bloody good move on him.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Raikkonen's tyres were shredded by that point.
Yeah, but he could have, if he hadn't got him then, you're talking all the way down. He might have got him into the next turn, mightn't he? But sorry, what would it be? Turn 4? Would it be the?
Yes.
Yeah, but maybe Ferrari were thinking, well, if he tries to go around the outside of turn 4, Kimi's just going to run him wide, and then Sebastian can sneak through there. So that's why Bottas knew that he had to get the job done before that.
Yeah, maybe. But Valtteri saw right through exactly what Ferrari were trying to do.
Yeah.
Whether he got that radio message from Mercedes or not, I don't know. I didn't hear anything.
No.
But it was clear that leave Kimi out there, let Valtteri catch him, try and hold him up to let Seb get closer. And okay, Seb got closer, but Valtteri didn't lose his head. He was as cool as
As Kimi.
as cool
Yeah.
as Kimi. Yeah, he was
Finish.
finishly cool. It was a very Finnish podium, wasn't it, at the end of
Yeah.
the race? But that sort of reliance on Ferrari to just be like, well, it's Valtteri, Bottas. I doubt they would have done that if it had been Lewis Hamilton. It was Ferrari's reliance on, well, but it's Bottas. We think we can get Bottas.
I think you're right.
It's poor on Ferrari's part, and they completely sacrificed Kimi's race because of it.
Going to throw this in at the mix. Do you think they were expecting Bottas to get into the lead and then be told to hold things up so that Lewis could catch and pass him?
No, I don't think so.
Because do you think Ferrari would have thought that Mercedes are going to sacrifice Bottas to get Hamilton?
I almost thought the message that Bottas got, which was keep Vettel behind you. What was it? It was something like whatever happens, keep Vettel behind you, something like that.
Yeah. Do not let car number 5 pass.
Yeah, passed. That was it.
Yeah.
And I did wonder to myself whether that was like the overtake where I was saying in
He
Bahrain.
bottled it.
But where I was saying in Bahrain, I think Mercedes would have been just as happy with Bottas getting past Vettel as they would have done with him being in the side of him.
Yeah.
I wonder whether that was like, don't let him pass, as in like,
Do anything
do
it
not
takes.
let him pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he goes past you, he's only going to have 3 wheels.
Yeah. I did wonder whether that was a thing. I don't know if Bottas is the guy to
I don't
do
think
that.
he is.
No.
He's not ruthless
But,
enough, I don't think.
But basically, Ferrari took out one of the drivers, which they could have won the race with in the end.
In the end, yeah. That's completely counterintuitive to racing.
Yeah.
you may as well not have your second car out there, or not qualifying that high up.
Yeah.
What's the point?
Because let's face it, I mean, I don't know whether Kimi would have been far enough down the road with, given how quick the Red Bulls were.
Mm.
But when you look at the fact that he was pushing Valtteri around the track, after the pit stops and after the safety car had been, even though he had that like massive penalty because of Ferrari leaving him out for a fucking fortnight.
Yeah.
So
it
was almost Kimi's race. That
he effectively lost a pit stop's worth of time.
yeah,
Because
and he wasn't a pit stop behind Ricciardo.
no, after I think Bottas pitted, and there was about a second between the two of them.
Yeah.
When Bottas went in, and Bottas had time for a pit stop and make up the 23 seconds, and then pass him.
And the other
And they just left him out to ruin his tyres.
The other thing that you might have seen was if Kimi could have been out in front of Bottas, without his strategy being fucked. Say because he was so close to Bottas, they could have brought him in to undercut Bottas.
Yeah.
In that he'd have been out in front. He had a quicker car there than the Mercedes, so when it all fucking shook down and Ricciardo was on his big charge, Kimi might have been able to be further ahead than Bottas was, so he might have won the race just by being caught, but
not being there to be overtaken.
Yeah, Ricciardo not having enough laps to catch him.
Yeah.
I knew I was going to get there. I probably used far too many words for the sentence.
I think you stayed out for a bit too long, and you lost your lead on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, don't forget as well, it wasn't quite 23 seconds, because I think Bottas was about 8 seconds clear of Raikkonen when he pitted.
Yeah.
But to still make up 15 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely, in a matter of laps, yeah.
Yeah.
It was impressive drive by Valtteri Bottas, and especially that's where Mercedes needed him to be. When Lewis is not on it, as he wasn't this weekend, that's where Mercedes need Valtteri Bottas to be up the front, fighting with cars who are in contention to win the race, and in contention to win the race himself, which he was for quite a long time. Sebastian Vettel could have controlled that race a bit better, do we think, or was he undercut and then didn't have the pace before the safety car?
I think that was okay. It was just the way the
safety car fell.
Yeah.
It was too late for Mercedes and Ferrari to react.
Hamilton was the real loser
Yeah.
because he was close enough to be brought in.
Yeah.
And I think if he had have been brought in, he might have won that race.
Well, that's that radio message, wasn't it? Is it my eyes or is everybody behind me on fresher tyres?
Yeah. Even if
No, it wasn't. Is that my eyes? Is it me?
Yeah.
Oh no, it's not you, Lewis. Everybody is behind you on fresher tyres.
Because the thing to remember is the fact that that Red Bull wasn't, although the Ferrari's quicker than Mercedes this weekend, the Red Bull was not quicker than either the Ferrari or the Mercedes. It was all down to the tyres that it had on.
Yeah.
So if you were to stick Lewis, given what Ricciardo did, on new tyres at the same point in the race, you'd have to be a brave man not to put the money on Lewis to win that race.
Absolutely.
One thing that we did say about Vettel, whingy.
I don't know about whingy.
When Alonso did the overtake on him and forced him wide.
It was hard, to me. I think that was hard racing. I don't think it was. I don't think he forced him off the track. I think more frustration on Sebastian's part that. All right, he had that tangle with Max Verstappen,
Where he had a good comeback with that on the radio. I don't have to say anything.
Yeah. He did burn his tyres up a bit by wheel spinning to get back around the right way. That's probably anger and frustration. It's natural. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
And probably a little bit more frustrated when he realised his car was so damaged or his tyres were damaged, whichever it was. I think he'd taken floor damage as well, so he'd actually lost a lot of grip. So, and then to have a McLaren, namely the McLaren of Fernando Alonso, come past you quite aggressively. Yeah, all right, Alonso got his elbows out a bit.
Yeah.
But
Good move.
Hard racing. You know what I mean? He still left Sebastian enough room, but he spooked Sebastian into going off the circuit.
He's also been complaining since about the timing of the safety car.
Well, yeah, but he didn't complain about the timing of the safety car in Australia, did he?
No.
No.
I thought exactly the same thing. It's not fair to have a safety car out that's going to totally change a race. So what do you do then? You have a car crash and you go, well, this could change the race, so we'll just have the marshals do the job with the cars going round normally.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Talking of the crash, something that you pointed out, Sharman, when we were watching the highlights earlier, Hartley ended up nearly shredding his tyres on bits of his own car.
No, it was Gasly.
Oh, was it
I think it was
Gasly?
Gasly. Yeah, he ran over, I think, his own end plate.
Yeah, which yeah, that was the early Toro Rosso incident, wasn't it? The at that hairpin. But what do we think about the Verstappen Vettel incident at that same hairpin?
I thought it was ridiculous.
Entirely Max's fault.
Yes,
Yeah.
it wasn't. The move wasn't on.
It wasn't on, Paul.
There was no space there for him to go for it.
Early doors. If you watch a replay, I'm not defending Max here at all whatsoever. I'm giving an
Neither's
explanation.
his dad.
No, I'm giving an explanation. Early doors. If you look, when Max would have had to make that split-second decision,
Yeah.
Vettel is running wide, and all of a sudden, that front end of that Ferrari comes back in very quickly. It's just a weird line that Ferrari. Maybe it's because he was trying to look after
Yeah,
his
but
tyres.
he's always going to take the corner.
Oh yeah, he's always taking the
he's-
corner. Yeah,
He's ahead,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's his corner.
yeah. He's always going to take it. But if you look, there is a split second where it looks like Vettel's going wide, and the gap may open on the exit of the corner. But before you know it, the Ferrari's got grip. It's turning in again, and it's game over.
Did he see? Was he close enough to see Ricardo's move on Hamilton?
No, I don't think so. I don't think he was
No.
close enough to see that.
Because I wondered whether he'd seen that. I thought, I could have a chomp at that.
Yeah, maybe. But the
Maybe he'd seen a replay of Gasly's move on Hartley on one of the screens around the circuit. Thought, I can do that better.
Probably.
yeah.
But, like,
and I can see why Max went for it. I can.
Mm-hmm.
He was wrong to go for it, and he knows that he was wrong to go for it. He's put his hands up and said he was sorry. It was his fault entirely.
Awful start to the season for him.
Yeah, and what looked like. Paul, you showed me a video of what looked like Helmut Marko giving him a bit of a telling off after the race.
Yes, somebody got a bit of footage that they put on Twitter of Helmut Marko absolutely unleashing hell and fury on Max at the back of the garage, but outside the back of the garage, sort of in that private area where
Mate.
nobody's meant to see,
Yeah.
except whoever it was that had just happened to have their mobile on them.
Yeah.
Just as an aside, I love the way that Autosport describe Jos Verstappen, a veteran of more than 100 Grand Prix starts. Are they ever going to describe how many finishes? Because it's not that many.
You would be a hell of a Formula One driver to finish all 100 starts that you'd or 100 plus starts that you'd had. But
Did he make 10%?
Oh no, yeah, he made
did.
10%.
No,
yeah.
I know he did, but no, I mean, Jos Verstappen has been defending Max to the hilt, along with, we've got to say, 90% of the Netherlands. And that...
Which you'd expect.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That appears to have changed. Let me find the email that we got from Stephen Jansen. As a Dutchman, I followed the Verstappen news with a bit more attention, and you guys were talking what it could be that Max is struggling and trigger happy, and you proved it right, as we saw in China. Could it be that he felt from race one that he's got a race-winning car, that he's in a position to win, and he's too eager and putting too much pressure on himself, and that's why he's making more mistakes this year, because he knows the car's good, because it's not something that he said last season when he was making less mistakes. So is it because he thinks he's got a much better car under him that he can actually gain more by making those moves?
I think it might be some frustration because he doesn't know where Red Bull's going as a team next year. I think it could be that. I think it could be the fact that maybe he started to believe some of his own hype.
I think a lot of it is maybe the Ricciardo situation as well, because Verstappen very much has nailed his colours to the Red Bull mast, whereas Ricciardo now has this buffet of teams.
Yeah.
And
Surely with him being Aussie, it'd be a Barbie of teams.
well, possibly, yes. But if Ricciardo now outperforms him this year, he maybe looks a bit shit.
I think Max wanted this to be Team Max.
Yeah.
And it's not.
And he's
working
trying
out
too
for him.
hard to make that happen.
Well,
Yeah.
I think maybe Max forgot that in amongst all, I think I said this last week as well, didn't I? In amongst all the hype around Max Verstappen, maybe he forgot that his teammate came into Red Bull and took care of a 4-time world champion in his first year. He's undoubtedly one of the best drivers in Formula One.
We've spoken before, haven't we, many times about how probably, the traditional top three, Hamilton, Alonso, Vettel, is like sort of the top three that a lot of people sort of look at as being the top three drivers in the sport. Have done for years now, those three. With Danny Ricciardo on the fringes of that top three. Verstappen will undoubtedly get there at some point, and he will be like one of the greatest drivers in sport.
I think we'll have to wait and see, because I think Sean Kelly's right when he keeps referring to him as like the second coming of
Gilles
Villeneuve.
Yeah.
Like Gilles Villeneuve, without a shadow of a doubt, exciting driver to have on the track. But if someone said write down the 5 best Formula One drivers you can think of,
It would never put down Gilles Villeneuve.
no, because he was spectacular now and again, and it's Gilles Villeneuve died, and people knew it was going to happen. It was a foregone conclusion the way he was that was going down like that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't think you could say the same of. Just want to rule that out now for anyone who's listening, thinking, are they saying Max is going to die?
Oh no.
Well, the thing is, back in those days before all the
Safety,
safety that's come in now, which let's face it, Formula One needed.
Yeah.
You have a crash like that, chances are you weren't going to walk away from it.
Yeah.
Now you have a crash like that, chances are you are going to walk away from it. But Max is taking the same risks, making the same moves, and those crashes will come.
Well, I said to my dad after Daniel Ricciardo's overtake on Hamilton, he was so far back. It was like he started that overtake at turn four in Bahrain.
Yeah.
And I said to my dad, we were watching it, if Max had done that, there'd have been a crash. And then a few laps later,
In exactly the same place.
yeah,
Had a tweet from Tyson Best, actually. The same people who complained of boring races last year are now complaining about Max being too aggressive.
Well,
Yeah, but
we've
what-
got a lot of messages, didn't we, yesterday about Max being Max for crashing.
Max Donardo.
Yeah, Max not stopping.
But the only thing I've got an issue with that is, so are we saying now that cars have to crash into each other to have exciting races?
No, but I'd like to see that drivers for it.
Yeah.
I would, but to me, exciting racing is like Ricciardo's move on Hamilton or Ricciardo's move on Bottas.
Well, Ricciardo went for it and he made it work.
His move on Bottas was much cooler than the one that he did on Hamilton. It doesn't get the same love.
It was halfway around the circuit, a point where you're not really supposed to overtake very easily.
And he had literally a Formula One car's Formula One car sized hole to put his car down,
And he did.
And it was where you either make this move or you're going to have a massive crash.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ricciardo makes more overtakes than anyone as well, and I really can't think of a time when he's totally fucked it up and wiped it himself and the other driver out.
I thought exactly the same thing. I was trying to think of when he's had.
He was a Toro Rosso driver in
Oh, there will be one.
the
Yeah,
German
of
Grand
course.
Prix at Hockenheim, New Hockenheim.
Yeah.
And he got an overtake move on, I want to say, Pastor Maldonado.
Oh.
Wrong.
Yeah.
And it was 50-50 as to whether or not Ricciardo got it wrong or Maldonado slammed the door on him. But I'm going
B.
Easy
Yeah,
to say now, isn't it? That's the
Maldonado slamming the door would probably involve the frame coming off.
thing. Yeah, the house falling down. One of
Yeah.
those old those silent films where the house was just folded out
All four
around you.
walls just...
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Ricciardo standing there with a doorknob in his hand.
Yeah.
Maldonado could slam the door of a safe in a bank.
No, I don't think he's saying that races have got to be spectacular for crashes, but it's making moves.
Yeah, but it's not like that. To me, is not positive. Like,
No, I would much rather see Max go for it and
Yeah.
make a mistake.
oh no, I don't get me wrong. I like watching him, but It's just not good racing. So if he's like he threw away a podium and a potential win.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
that's
Well, no,
not
a potential
exciting, that.
1-2. I don't think he'd have caught Danny Rick. I think he was on another level.
He'd
once
have already
got past
he'd have already
Mercedes.
been ahead of Danny Rick. He was ahead of Danny Rick when he run wide trying to overtake
Yeah,
Hamilton.
Danny Rick got
Danny-
past
Danny
because
Rick-
of the
yeah.
Vettel
Yeah.
crash.
Yeah, Hamilton. That's how Ricardo got ahead of Hamilton.
Yeah, that's what I mean. But if so he threw away a podium.
Oh yeah,
to
at that
chance
particular
to
point.
win.
But I mean,
Yeah.
when he was attacking Vettel, I'd rather see him going for moves like that. Okay,
Yeah.
he got it wrong. He ruined Vettel's race. That's a bit unfair
Yeah, no,
on
but
Vettel.
even the move on Hamilton was ridiculous because when you think of Alonso,
Hamilton was never going to back out of that.
no, and Alonso backed out of a move there as well because he knew he'd be on the dirty part of the track and it just wasn't going to fucking work.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Did you see the post-race pit interviews?
Yes.
Did you see what Sebastian Vettel said when they asked him about him being young?
Oh, he's not young anymore.
No, he's not.
3
no.
years in Formula One.
He's done enough races now.
Yeah.
That was Sebastian Vettel's answer. No,
I think he's quite right.
He's done enough races now.
Well,
he knows.
Well, let's not forget. And I know he's the youngest driver, but Vettel couldn't have been that much fucking younger. And don't get me wrong, Vettel was a crash kid.
a little bit, yeah.
So maybe he's going to go a bit easier on it because he knows what like some of the stick he got.
Yeah.
And his dad will probably punch his lights out if he tries
Yeah.
it again.
Josh Verstappen said he's disappointed in Max. I was just reading that before we were doing the podcast.
Not angry. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah, he's got one of those dad arguments.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a beer later. It'll be right.
Well, here then, seeing as how we're talking about it, Daniel Ricciardo, championship contender.
Too early to say at the moment. He does have one more race win than most of the rest of the field, who isn't Sebastian Vettel. But it was a great strategy.
One more
from
race
Red Bull.
win than all of the rest of the field that are Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah.
Could he be 2008 Kimi?
Oh,
Where Mercedes
Win
and
it-
Ferrari are tripping over each
win
other
it
so
because
much.
somebody else loses it.
Yeah, Hamilton.
Is that not 2007, Kimi?
Yeah, well,
2007,
2007.
sorry,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well done, Sean.
Where if you've got Hamilton who doesn't seem to be having the best of years, and it's we know how quickly he could turn it around and bang like 3 or 4 wins together,
Yeah,
and
but I
then
mean,
to be back together.
No, but Mercedes and Ferrari are tripping over each other so often.
yeah, well, Mercedes are tripping over themselves,
Yeah.
and Hamilton looks a little bit like shaken by Rosberg Hamilton at the minute. So
Well, interesting quote from Toto about Lewis. Not in a good place at the moment.
Well, you wouldn't be after your first 3 results of the season. He's a born. I don't say he's a born winner because nobody's a born winner.
He's a born competitor.
Yeah, and he's bitterly disappointed when he doesn't win.
Yeah, anything other than first is a loss.
Yeah, he
his
knows he's
world.
got the car to win, and it's for some reason that nobody knows quite why. Other people are beating him, and he doesn't like that.
I think more to the biggest problem this weekend was the fact that Valtteri beat him, and Valtteri was the fastest Mercedes driver this weekend.
All weekend.
Yeah. Nailed
Out-qualified.
him in qualifying.
Yeah.
Let's just bring up the qualifying gap. What was it again?
3/10,
3/10, I think.
Was it 131.62 and 131.67 for Hamilton?
Oh, so half a
It was
tenth.
half a tenth. It was half a tenth. Lewis was fastest in Q2 and Bottas beat him by 3/10 in Q1.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ricciardo as a title contender, I think the two sort of big problems for him would be the reliability.
Yeah.
He's already had one DNF, one engine on fire. That's not great. But also the qualifying as well. He does do well. He's one of these that when other people have problems, he takes advantage of it. But at some point, he's going to have to win from pole or
But I
win from
think-
the front row.
I don't think that's going to be a massive problem because in the past he has proven to be a pretty good qualifier, in past seasons. So that might be something that'll sort itself out.
Yeah, at the moment you can't see Red Bull, or I can't see Red Bull getting a pole, but that's something that could come later in the season.
I think he'd have been ahead of Max if it wasn't for his issues with his engine and missing FP3. You know, he ended the Q3 a tenth behind his teammate. 10th behind a teammate in a car which had just been rebuilt.
With an engine
Yeah.
that had actually been built from scratch. Nice work, Renner.
After he'd missed doing the qualifying sims in FP3.
Can we just say now, Red Bull team as a whole, on track and behind the scenes in the garage, heroes of the week.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
definitely.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Mechanics,
Bravest
strategy,
Yeah.
driving.
Yeah.
Might as well say Max is the villain.
Yeah. But well, I
He
think
was the villain, but he wasn't an intentional villain. He didn't go out there to try and to ruin his own and other people's races.
It was just collateral
You
damage.
could say that Pierre Gasly is the villain for, he's responsible for the safety car, which in turn made and destroyed other people's races. But it
Gasly
gave
might
us-
have been more an anti-hero than a villain.
Yeah.
depends whether you're Vettel or Hamilton.
And that's the kind of image that Red Bull as a company or a brand like to portray.
Yeah.
I don't think they like to portray their drivers running into the back of their other drivers.
No, but if you can get some fire out of it, they can get some quality TV time. Oh, come on! They invented a sport where losing a finger is an occupational hazard.
What's
Is
that?
that crashed ice?
Crashed ice. Downhill speed skating on a bobsleigh track in the middle of a city
It's like
centre.
BMX but on ice and blades.
Fuck.
It's awesome.
Wow.
4 people going at the same time.
Nah, you're all right. thanks.
You're allowed to get elbowsy.
Tell you what, the Stone Jamaicans aren't doing that one, are they?
I think it's mainly Canadians and people from Minnesota.
Or anyone that doesn't like their own fingers.
Yeah.
Sanka, yeah man, you're dead man. No, but I lost me finger.
Snapping a finger off instead of a dreadlock. Onto sort of more Mercedes. Hamilton.
Mercedes.
Hamilton just hasn't had
It's not working for him at the moment.
That car isn't going as well as you'd expect for
It
him.
was kind of working for him in Australia, and he seemed happy enough until that virtual safety car. It was okay in Bahrain, but he slipped down another peg here in China. It's not gone well for him.
The only time Mercedes has really looked like Mercedes was his pole lap in Australia.
And his
And that was him more than the car.
And we all saw that and thought, oh God, here we go again.
Yeah, I
absolutely.
did.
and I've been pleasantly surprised by Formula One in 2018 so far. It's been brilliant.
It seems to have snuck up, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
No one thought that all of a sudden it was going to be close this year.
No, and it is all of a
Yeah.
sudden. We were 3 races in and we haven't had a Mercedes win. 2 teams have won, neither of them are Mercedes.
See, Halos are great.
I think Toto was the only person who was saying, "Oh, it's going to be a 3-horse race," and I think everyone just thought he was being polite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he thought he was being polite
Yeah,
when he said
he might not have believed his own quote.
Yeah. I have to say this so we don't look too arrogant.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I was right.
Maybe that's it. Like what you always say about the art of war.
Yeah, when
The-
you are weak, appear strong, and when
Yeah.
you're strong, appear weak.
But I've always had this thought about maybe that. I wonder how much you can influence the natural world just around intent.
Yeah.
Toto said it that much. He's actually manifested reality.
That's the strange. We're getting into some sort of weird alternate realities now. But yeah, Bottas
Oh,
was,
please don't. I don't want to feel queasy again. Oh no, that's virtual reality. Sorry.
Bottas was brilliant all weekend.
Yep.
And you could argue he should have won the race, but he was unlucky with the timing of the safety car.
He should have won 2 races now. Be leading the championship.
Yeah, but he was unlucky with the timing of the safety car. And has he complained about the timing of the safety car? Has he been very vocal about safety car was at the wrong time?
No.
Is he
No.
very vocal about anything, though?
No, he's not. He's Valtteri Bottas. He says when he's disappointed. He says when he's happy.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think after the last 2 races, Valtteri Bottas has done exactly what half of his contract says, and he has finished second. Unfortunately, it's not to Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's done the best with what he's had in front of him, and he knew he couldn't defend too hard against Ricciardo. He knew Ricciardo was coming, and he had to kind of hope that Ricciardo's tyres burned out towards the end of the race, and he'd be able to come back at him. Didn't happen. Ricardo won that race by like 8 seconds, something like that.
Yeah. Do you think Rosberg's thinking maybe I should have hung around, took the spanking last year, and I'd have been ready for my second championship this year?
Double world champion. No, I don't think so. No, Nico Rosberg's perfectly happy selling watches, whilst stood wearing beige suits on
Testing in
boulevards.
Formula E.
Did he test a Formula E car?
What is he doing? He's doing like the first public appearance of the new Formula E 2.0.
Because
Right.
nobody knows who the Formula E drivers are.
Right.
Well, there's the whole thing. What's it called? Wears a shirt.
all the ones that used to be in Toro Rosso. That's basically what Formula E
Yeah,
is.
no, I was thinking of Dead Mouse. No, it's not him.
Rosberg's also owning bits of Formula E.
Apparently he has done for a long time, but has just kept quiet about it until their car suddenly looks cool.
What? Who? What?
Rosberg is a shareholder of Formula E.
The actual.
The brand,
series.
the series.
Yeah.
But has only decided to talk about it now that everyone likes the car.
Has he done like one of those things where there must be a load of people round about now? It's sort of had a little quick check and thought, oh, hang on a minute, I own a Bitcoin.
Yeah.
is this his Formula One heel turn? Like, you know, like when in wrestling somebody becomes like the commissioner. Or
I'd
like,
argue it was his face turn, but carry on.
Talking of which, in the Rosberg and Formula E connection, I did notice that Porsche launched their the mock-up of their car because they're entering the series when
They
car
all look good.
2.0 comes out. Mainly the sponsors on it, which is why I think Rosberg might be driving for Porsche in Formula E.
visit Rosbergia?
Sadly not, but it's got
Perfume.
big Hugo Boss branding on it, which I think was Rosberg's sponsor because they stopped sponsoring Mercedes as soon as Rosberg was not part of the team anymore.
Which is why Tommy Hilfiger now
Yeah,
sponsors.
and it's got Qualcomm on, which is another sponsor that carries over from the Rosberg days in Mercedes. Now, I don't know what his connection is with them because they still appear on the Mercedes, I think.
It's probably tenuous is the fact that Jensen Button's still sponsored by Santander.
Isn't it weird though? Because aren't Mercedes entering Formula E? So surely you'd expect Nico Rosberg, the Mercedes ambassador, to drive.
Who
for
isn't a Mercedes ambassador anymore? He said that on Sky this weekend.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, but don't forget, at any available opportunity, he can be German. So he can be German for any of the available German teams.
German for pay.
Yeah, Trabant are entering Formula E, and Nico Rosberg is going to be their spokesman.
It just depends how you say it, doesn't it? But he's literally German for hire.
Will Deutsch for cash. Deutsching for Dosh.
Oh.
Right, that leaves us with Red Bull, which I know we've pretty much already covered.
Verstappen was a bit of a villain, but I still want to see him go for those gaps. Like, people are going to disagree with me, but please go back and watch that poor attempt at an overtake again, where he takes Vettel out.
Yeah.
A gap does open, but the second that you think that's a gap, it's closed
It's done,
straight away.
Yeah.
And
It was more of a gap than was between the Toro Rossos. 'cause
Yeah,
that
it
was,
wasn't
that was,
as poor
that was
as
never a gap.
Gasly's.
yeah,
I think the difference is it wasn't a mistake that you'd expect from somebody that you think should be fighting for the world championship. That's
Yeah.
the thing. It was a Maldonado accident, and I want Max to do the race, and that he has been doing it. I do enjoy watching Max Verstappen race, obviously, but the issue is the move against Lewis was ridiculous. That was never coming off. The move against Vettel was never coming off. So it's he's getting done by his teammate.
yeah.
He needs to change something.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Jos has told him, wind your neck in. And, I mean, Vettel went a bit elder statesman on him when Max went to apologise, which
Yeah.
he's got every right to do. The race is along and you threw your podium away, which, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. You can't argue with the man.
Yeah. Are we going to see a more mature Max Verstappen starting in Baku?
No.
No, because I think if we do, I think he'll be the same. He could be the same as Grosjean in a way.
Yeah.
Where when Grosjean was fast, he was crashy, But then when he tried to wind it all in, it destroyed him as a driver.
Yeah. Well, if we look down the grid as well, look back through the teams we've been talking to, there's at least one driver who's having, at least one driver in every team. There's a dominant driver in every team already, and it's showing. Toro Rosso, Gasly, all right, okay, he had that 4th place, and he only finished 2 places ahead of Hartley, but he's clearly got that step ahead of Hartley at Toro Rosso. You got Sauber.
Do you think, serious question, do you think we are going to still see this Toro Rosso lineup in Abu Dhabi?
I hope so, because they haven't got anyone else to bring through at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
'cause-
not really a great deal else on offer.
Yeah, but if you look at
Well, it depends who writes in. That's how Hartley got his job.
If you look at Sauber, Ericsson at the moment, that could swing one way or the other. Leclerc's just, I think he's finding it difficult to find his feet.
Dear
But
Christian, could you fix it for me?
He hasn't got the medal, has he? But
I hope if he has, I hope that's all.
now then.
Williams, Stroll is currently better than Sorokin, but not by much.
Less shit.
Yeah, Force India is actually quite evenly matched as things go. Haas, Magnussen's terrifying Grosjean at the moment. In that. McLaren, Alonso's making a child of Van Dorn. Renault, we've already spoken about Hulkenberg, put the manners on Sainz. Ferrari, purely down to strategy, Vettel is the number 1 driver there. Mercedes at the moment, Bottas is doing a lot better than Hamilton. And in Red Bull, Ricciardo's doing a lot better than Verstappen. So it really is. We talk about Haas having binary races, but every team at the moment has got like a dominant driver that in the opening rounds of the season has not encountered too many problems and done maybe not as well as they could have done, but done a lot better than their teammate.
Yeah.
Which is the first port of call in every race team.
Yeah, it's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, can't really.
Yeah. But talking about Red Bull, we already spoke about them being the heroes as well. I mean, that pit strategy was brilliant. They were
To double stack the cars
twice.
and actually make it work both times. It was one hell of a risk. I mean, it paid off fantastically.
Yeah, I mean there were only 6/10 between the fastest and slowest pit stops as well of the race. Red Bull were not the fastest pit stop of the race. Mercedes got that with Bottas's pit stop.
So Williams can't even be fast at pit stops anymore.
But they were actually slowest. 2.7.
I mean, they were the first team to break the 2-second barrier,
They were.
I think.
I'm pretty sure they were. Red Bull did a 2.1, didn't they? And Williams did a 1.9 something.
Yeah.
I think that's when they were competitive, though, isn't it? Maybe now it's just not worth the hassle.
I wonder what psychologically it does to a whole team having those drivers in the
Yeah.
car.
Yeah, they're not pushing because the car isn't
Yeah,
pushing.
why should I stay up doing all these extra hours at crazy times? Putting all this effort in for Stroll to go out, be last, and spin the car 6 times in a practice session.
Yeah.
Because he's paying your wages.
But it's
He's paying their wages whether they do a 3-second pit
Yeah.
stop or a 4-second pit stop there.
Sorokin's money isn't paying the wages. That's all going on development. Which begs the question, how much is Sorokin actually paying? Because that car doesn't seem to be coming along very well.
No, not at all.
Unless it's buying new pillows for Paddy Lowe.
Maybe for falling asleep at the pit wall.
I can't understand why that car isn't a good car. I don't care about the drivers, but when you've got a Mercedes engine in it and Paddy Lowe's designed it, how isn't that a good car?
Yeah. But
Has he taken a risk with it and it's not paid off?
probably.
But it doesn't look like a particularly risky car.
No,
But apparently it's cold air that's the problem. They can't get enough cold air into it.
Well, they're very good at designing fridges, aren't they?
Fridge shelves.
Yeah, it's the rear of the shells, the way the air flows. I've actually seen it in operation. It's very bizarre. It's like a load of Formula 1 wings stuck to the back of a fridge.
they're not fucking new to having Mercedes engines in the back of the car.
No.
I don't get. Obviously, I don't get it. Fucking paint and decorate, not a fucking.
But going back
engineer,
to Red Bull, and we were talking then about how strong Ricciardo is, and Lee was asking, do we see Ricciardo as a proper title challenger? There is a bit of silly season talk going on that Ricciardo may move on at the end. I can't see a single team on the grid that wouldn't want Danny Ricciardo in their car.
I think he's going to have the choice between Ferrari and Mercedes.
He's been linked with
I
McLaren as well,
I
if
can-
Alonso retires.
I can see one team that wouldn't want him, and that would be Williams, because I don't think he brings the sponsorship. And they, on a serious point, they are the "we'll put you in the car for cash" team these days.
Which is sad for Williams. It really is.
I'm saying it now. Williams are the new Tyrrell.
I don't know. I think they've got more. Don't forget, Williams haven't got a bad budget. We're saying they'll put people in the car for nothing, but for pay. But
Williams have about a quarter of the budget of Ferrari.
yeah, they have about a quarter of the budget for Ferrari. But when you look at the historic winners and stuff like that,
Yeah.
they do get a good wedge. And don't forget, that's not their only income, because they do quite a lot of technology stuff. I think they'll try and have a proper driver in the car next year. I don't think they'll have the same lineup.
And that driver is very likely to be Valtteri Bottas.
Valtteri Bottas, Kimi Räikkönen.
Well, yeah, Williams have got a reputation of, oh, you're too old for Ferrari, come to us.
Stoffel Van Dorn, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. If McLaren decide that Lando is best placed alongside Nando.
Yeah. Depending on what Ocon's doing, if Ocon stays at Force India and Perez stays at Force India and George Russell's doing well in F2, Mercedes might even use some muscle to get George Russell into a Williams.
The Russell
Yeah.
muscle.
Oh, no.
Sorry. Sorry. You serve them up and I just hit a turkey.
So, yeah, I mean, we're all agreed, though, amazing Chinese Grand Prix.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
great.
definitely.
Absolutely cracking.
Yeah. 2/3 of this season already has been outstanding, and long may it continue.
Yeah. Azerbaijan next. Are we hoping for a similar race to last year, or would we like a race without as many collisions and shenanigans?
I like a bit of chaos now and
A
again.
little bit
Maybe
of chaos.
somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with Sean on that one. A little bit in between, sort of just enough chaos to keep it interesting and enough.
I want Lance Stroll to
Racing.
get all excited because you remembered last year.
Do you think he'll get too excited and just like plow into a wall?
I was
straight
going
away?
to say bold prediction: Lance Stroll out, lap 1, turn 1.
No, lap 2, turn 1, because he will absolutely nail it down that long straight where he got overtaken last year and then forget to brake in time.
It's tight though, isn't it, into that first corner? It's not a preview show until next week, although after the race we just had, who can blame us for looking forward to the next one?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do this coming weekend.
Sleep.
Well, there is that. Anybody see the IndyCar last
Nope.
night?
No.
No.
Look for it on YouTube. Will Power's 3-car pass going into
I saw the pass.
into turn
Yeah.
1. I was gutted for him when he had to give places
It was
back because he crossed into the pit lane.
No way.
Yeah.
On that overtake?
Yeah, he had 2 wheels over the blue pit lane exit line,
Oh,
so he had to give
piss
places back. So 2 laps later, he just did it again.
Yeah. That's
But got it right.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
but pass of the day didn't happen on an F1 circuit.
Yeah. And we did see a triple pass, didn't we, in Bahrain? Hamilton passing.
Everybody.
Yeah, well, who was it? It was Hulkenberg? A Renault, a Force India, and someone else. Magnussen, I think it was.
Yeah. Right, we've got
just quickly. Sorry, we're still on Formula 1 before we move off to do the other bits.
the whole show's about Formula 1. Allegedly.
Are we doing games next?
Almost.
Almost. We've got something else.
Anyway, did anyone else clock the talks that they're doing this week about like emergency meeting about trying to make overtaking easier next year in Formula 1?
Yeah, it's going to be simply it was a meeting about nothing. Again,
Well,
Sounds
No, it
about
hasn't
right.
happened yet.
well, no, it was a
it's
talk.
It was a discussion about the steering committee for what the strategy group are going to discuss that's going to happen in meetings.
There's going to be a proposal put forward this week.
Front wings are made more simple.
Yeah, because
Oh, great. The meeting's tomorrow. It's Tuesday, so the story's going to come out.
but
Sean, guess what you're writing about?
Yeah.
But they have, if they're going to change the rules, they have to change the rules for next year before the 25th of April.
30th.
30th of April.
30th, 2 weeks today.
Yeah, otherwise it has to then be a unanimous decision by all teams to go with it.
And we know who will say no to
Well,
that.
we know the fact that unanimous decisions in Formula One don't happen.
Yeah. Unless they're on safety grounds. Quite often safety agreements are unanimous. But apart from that, quite often, yes.
Yeah.
Well, going on with the story that I can see on Autosport, McLaren are going to vote against it because Eric Boulier says it's a knee-jerk reaction after Australia.
Yeah, but does he actually have a say anymore?
Possibly.
Depends what Zach Brown thinks now.
I mean, it won't. Yeah, but it doesn't matter if they vote against it, does it? If it's done before.
If it's done in time, if they don't get it done
Yeah.
Can we
by.
go back to early 90s wings where it was just like a plank
Yeah.
with two end plates.
with two smaller planks on the end.
And then just like what at the time looked like state of the art sort of sweeping up plates behind it. That was it.
Yeah.
None of this stacking tiny little winglets on top of.
I mean, what was it? They showed a close up of the McLaren front wing, and I think it would. If you add up all the little elements as well, there was something like 18 surfaces on each side of the nose.
Jesus.
That's ridiculous. 3. That's all you need.
I mean, obviously the teams are going to go against this because they've put that much money into developing these crazy front wings. You know, because every next wing is like an evolution of the others.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So it's if they all of a sudden they say, right, we're going to these simple front wings where you've got less development area on it, all that money that they've done has just been squandered.
Yeah.
It's just like your average Apple product customer. We've spent all that money on it. Oh, here's a new version.
I don't know why you keep saying that.
Because that's what they do.
No, but the average Apple customers, this is a statistical fact, keep their products longer than Windows. You've had about 18 different Windows laptops in the time I've had a MacBook.
How long have you had that MacBook?
Okay, you've had 3.
How long have you had that MacBook?
Year?
I'm on to my 3rd year on this laptop.
How many laptops you got at home?
They're all for different things. Well, there's the one that Dan bought for the emergency recording one. There's the cheap one that I bought to run my pub quiz on because this is a top of the range one, and I am not taking this.
How many PCs have fucked themselves?
Well,
I rest your case, Your Honour. Back to Formula One.
well, the last one that died on me, we're actually recording the show on it, so it was repairable.
Well, I don't care. It still died.
I could have fixed it and carried on using it at home, but I needed one that afternoon.
No, we was getting reeled in.
Back to the podcast.
Back to
the
the podcast. We want to welcome a new listener.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, congratulations to one of the Team Three Legs Four Wheels actual racing drivers who carries our logo, James Holman, and I'm assuming Mrs. Holman,
Congratulations.
on the birth of their new son.
Congratulations,
Last week.
Holmans.
Absolutely.
James was tweeting this week saying he was perfectly set for China because he's used to being up at about 4 a.m. Something that you will be finding familiar, Lee.
Arthur's grand. Well, I've always got up early. That's why I think it's funny when you said you just sleep in the afternoon. Like when I texted you at stupid o'clock in the morning and say, yeah, I'm not going to watch the race, I was getting up.
It was normal get up
That's
time.
just
for you.
normal get up
Yeah.
time.
I mean, usually I'm up for about 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. Well, before 7 o'clock anyway.
Yeah.
Well before 7 o'clock. But when on a weekend when I forgot that it's a Sunday and I've gone to bed at like at 1 a.m., that's when I struggle because I do normally go to bed earlier than that.
Yeah.
I try to get up during
You're
the AM.
useless.
I am.
You are absolutely
I
useless.
am not a morning person.
Neither am I. Really.
I can usually hear your alarm going when I'm stood in the kitchen, but for some reason it being right next to your head does not wake you up.
I'm fucking weird. It's like it's like someone just presses a button for me. I open my eyes and then that's just me.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm on or off.
Never been able to do that. Chris, get the guitar.
Is it that time already?
It is that time already. Well, according to this running order that you wrote,
Fair enough.
because that's where we'd have done the news, but there wasn't any.
Well, we've
News
sort
was
of
there was a
discussed it all,
race.
didn't we? Really, we
Yeah.
discussed it all during the race, and we discussed it all just then about the
About the overtaking.
total shunt, total shunt. Everybody, time for total shunt. Was it this week? Gilles Villeneuve, Jacques Villeneuve. Nothing like
Don't say
a
baby.
Villeneuve. Look out. Here comes a total shun.
That's getting more minor keyed and mournful every week.
That was in the style of James Taylor.
especially for our mate Sean Kelly, who can't stand him.
Yeah.
Right. This was sent in by Aspen. He goes under the name of Aspen Big Ears on Twitter.
Aspen's a great name.
That's because if you look on Twitter, he's actually a dog.
Yes.
So this is our first canine total shunt. I think he's a police dog.
Wow. He's he even gave us a Spaffer question. Good boy. He started right as well. I was born
Yay.
in 1973.
Okay, so
Okay.
1973.
So will be 45 or 45 this year.
Yeah.
So it's not me.
Depends if it's dog years or not.
45 in dog years is about 12.
I've raced in Formula One where I drove for 2 different teams.
Someone like, how many teams did Alex Wirtz drive for?
I think he may have been more than 2.
He was definitely Benetton.
Benetton.
Was it Arrows after that? Or Tyrrell, something like that?
Might have been. I seem to remember him filling in for. Oh no, it was a replacement driver for Gerhard Berger in the Benetton. That's where he got his
Yeah.
start, wasn't it?
Yeah. Possibly.
He was a test driver for Williams at one point. I'm fairly sure.
Was he?
Mm.
So Alex Wirtz might be a good shout. Around about the right age. I would think.
Luca Badoa as well drove for Ferrari and Minardi.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, it's about the right age.
About
as
the right
well.
age again.
Okay.
I've raced in NASCAR.
Don't think Luca Badoa has. I don't know about Alex Wirtz.
How many teams did Montoya drive for?
McLaren, Williams. Is that it?
And NASCAR.
Yeah.
He's
Does-
about that age. He might be a little younger, I'm not sure.
Should we go with Montoya for the
That
first guess?
sounds about right, actually.
Yeah. Should we do that
Do we
then?
need a guess? Or are we not only on the second clue?
Yeah, 3.
Oh, we're
Yeah,
on 3.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
shows how much attention I'm paying.
That's not the idea of this quiz.
We'll go with Sean's educated guess of Juan Pablo Montoya as the first guess.
Or as my very manx former flatmate once said, why is he called Juan Pablo?
Really?
Yes, she actually meant it seriously.
Juan Pablo.
Christ.
Yeah, she was so unworldly, she didn't know Juan was a thing, and she thought that all people with
Spain.
Latin names, Spain or Colombia,
Yes.
that were called Juan, it was pronounced Juan as they pronounce that over here.
Right.
Oh, dear.
I have participated in every 12 hours of Sebring since 1999. I was going to say that right then, and then corrected myself and said it right.
So probably not Juan Pablo
I
Montoya.
believe that clashes with the F1 season.
12 hours of Sebring.
Yes.
And I think in 99, Montoya was doing IndyCar pretty much exclusively in the odd Williams test, so I would say that possibly.
Also, he was doing
relatively-
Formula One for some years, which wouldn't have allowed
Yeah.
him to do Sebring.
Yeah,
I think it was up to about, was it 2006, his last season?
I think so, yeah.
or bits of 2006 until
Yeah.
he got fired.
I've raced in Le Mans for Panos. Is that how you pronounce it?
I think so.
Panos.
Yeah.
Yeah? P-A-N-O-Z?
Yeah.
Yeah, sounds like Panos to me. They were one of the big privateer teams in LMP1
Yeah.
going back, but I
They
think,
were-
I think
LMP2 car as well.
I think they're just exclusively LMP2 these days.
They've got
some
that
GT.
blue and greeny circly logo-y thing, if I remember right.
That rings a bell. Looks like the old Lotus logo if you're not looking at it properly.
Yeah.
How many teams did J-Mag drive for?
McLaren, Stewart,
Was he a Tyrrell driver as well?
I don't think he was. It might just be the two.
J-Mag has definitely done a duet with 50 Cent, hasn't he?
Along with a special performance from Wine 100.
J-Mag and 50 Cent in the club, in the Brooklands, in the Cops.
Very good. All the gravel traps he's entered.
Just thinking possibly Alan McNish as well, because he...
Toyota and... Who else did he drive for in Formula 1?
I
Just Toyota,
think
wasn't
it was just Toyota. He was testing for someone, but yeah, I think...
When referring to Alan McNish in the Formula 1 sense, can we refer to him as Alan Woodnish?
He even got sidelined by the BBC this year.
No, he's busy having a heart attack at Formula E, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
He manages a team.
At least there'll be a defibrillator close to him.
Like I said, they had a heart monitor on him, and like his heart rate was like over 140 BPM when he was watching a race.
You mean that's not normal?
No, no, it's not, Paul.
I'm taking this Fitbit off.
During the start of a race, I reckon my heart rate, just before the start, I think my heart rate goes up somewhat.
Mine was up around about that level at the start of Bahrain when I realised our server had crashed.
Yeah.
Would you like another clue?
Yes,
Yes,
please.
please.
I have raced in V8 supercars, and I would like a guess.
V8 supercars being the Australian thing. So racing V8 supercars, Formula 1, Le Mans. About Alex Zanardi, how many teams did he drive for? 'Cause he's racing everything else.
3, Lotus, Minardi and Williams.
Right. Ricardo Zonta, he's racing everything.
Yeah, but he only did BAR. As far as I can remember.
Sorry, I would be more helpful, but I've got some stuff in my eye.
Doesn't stop you from thinking, Sean.
It doesn't. It's putting me off.
This is a tough one.
It is.
It is. I enjoy it, though. I enjoy it. It gets your brain working.
Yeah. Shall we throw Luca Badoa in because he's the only other driver I can think of that did 2 teams and has done other shiz as well.
Yeah, I don't know that he ever went to Australia and did V8 supercars, but let's give it.
He would have gone to wherever Ferrari told him to go.
Let's throw him in. Why not?
I have 4 class wins at Le Mans and 3 at Sebring.
3 in like 19 years.
It's got all the hallmarks of Luca Badoa.
No, it hasn't. You use the word wins.
Oh, right. Sorry.
If the class win is best crash,
Most crying.
yeah, best hair game.
Nah.
No, his hair game's gone downhill actually, hasn't it, since the 90s?
It's gone a bit Kubica. No, well, no, his hair game's just gone. I think we might need another clue.
I broke Ayrton Senna's F3 record.
Of wins in a season, perhaps. I think Ayrton Senna won something ridiculous, like 9 out of the 10 races in F3 in '83.
Something daft like that, wasn't it? Ooh.
Oh, hang on, sorry. There's more. There's an extra line.
Oh.
Oh.
I broke. It's not going to help. I broke Ayrton Senna's F3 record, winning 14 out of 18 races in 1994.
So an F3 driver in '94, so probably not ready for Formula 1 until the late '90s.
Yeah, I think.
Which is why I was initially went for Alex Wurz, but
Yeah, I don't think that's.
I don't see why he would have gone to Australia to race V8 supercars and also race in Sebring every year since '99.
whoever it was possibly the Alonso of his time because he wants to enter every single race on Earth. We're seeing him doing Formula 2 stock cars at Onken Speedway in August.
And it doesn't mean he did a season in V8 supercars either. He could have just gone and done
Yeah.
like
Turned
A
up,
token
turned
effort.
up, done Bathurst, and
Yeah.
And then left again.
this one's
The plot
tough.
thickens.
This one's tough.
More.
More.
I won the 2008 GT1 and the 2013 GT category at the American Le Mans series. Oh, sorry, of the American Le Mans series.
I think we are going to be looking at someone American. Are you Scott? No.
No.
Jan Magnussen or Jos Verstappen. Jos Verstappen quit racing, didn't he?
I don't think Jan Magnussen would have been doing GT Am in 2013.
No, probably not. He
Like
still
has two-
races.
He does. No, he set a lap record, didn't he, at 24 Hours of Daytona?
Also, Jan Magnussen was in Formula 1 in 93.
Yeah.
Don't forget, GTM isn't as am as the name suggests.
Yeah, but
Because the main attraction in GTM in Le Mans this year is Giancarlo Fisichella
it's all to do with what type of license you've got, though, isn't it?
and the team.
Yeah.
I think it.
We're looking for a driver who probably raced in 96, 97 in Formula 1.
Which J Mag was doing for Stewart in.
And then went to race in America in like 99.
I think you might be. I think you might have got it with J Mag.
Well, it was Sean who
Was
said
it-
it originally.
It was me
yeah.
who threw
Yeah.
J-Mag out first, but I'm not sure.
The two teams fits.
Yeah.
He only did one race for McLaren.
It was a stand-in for
Someone.
someone. At the French Grand Prix, I remember it was at the French Grand Prix at Magny-Cours. And he finished 10th, I think. There you go, there's some trivia. If Jan Magnussen genuinely finished 10th at the 93 French Grand Prix, I will be very surprised with myself.
I will look that up as soon as this is finished because I am not going to do it during because I don't want another bloody grid penalty.
Last clue.
Yeah.
I was replaced by Jos Verstappen.
Again, that could be anyone because he just seemed to turn up at every team constantly.
JJ Leto?
Could possibly. Who else did he drive for apart from Benetton? He must have had another drive because he was one of those that was kicking around for God knows how long.
Yeah. I got a funny feeling he turned up at Lotus.
Again, everyone turned up at Lotus at some point or other up to about 95.
No, JJ Leto was in Formula 1 too early to be doing a Formula 3 in 94.
Yeah, because he was driving for Benetton in
94.
94 because that was the year of the fire pit stop.
Yeah. Who was the Arrows driver? Because Jos Verstappen did join Arrows mid-season when they were black and orange. Because someone was out of the team.
Just trying to remember who it was that year. There was Frentzen was in there.
Salo.
I think Salo was the year before.
Possibly. Pedro Diniz?
Don't know. I can't see the answer, by the way.
Again, Deniz drove for Sauber and Arrows,
And 40 and many other teams.
and
that
anyone
were
that wanted his dad's cash.
Yeah, so not Pedro Diniz.
Was that the Spaffer clue?
No, that's your 10th clue. There is another one, but I want the answer before that because the Spaff clue is not for a proper clue, is it?
Should we stick with J-Mag?
I'm not sold on J-Mag
Is this your
anymore,
final?
but
Because don't forget, you've
No, 'cause
already
he-
had 3 guesses. So two guesses. Who are the other 2?
one
Well,
was Montoya, wasn't it?
Yeah, we said Montoya,
And Luca Badoa.
Luca Badoa. It's a bloody difficult one this week. Bad dog. don't know.
He appears to have a fucking human femur in his mouth as well in this picture.
You're not a bad dog. You're very good. Please leave my skeleton in the order that it's in at the moment. Well, he's ripping the back out of us.
Wait.
Ukyo Katayama? No, he was in Formula 1 way too early.
It was in Formula 1 by accident.
Yeah, but he was in Formula 1 92, 93.
Still say that was the funniest article that F1 Racing magazine have ever done. Ukyo Katayama's World of Gravel.
Ukyo Katayama was the first driver when I was sort of just starting to really sort of understand Formula 1 and get into it. He was the first driver I thought, hang on a minute, he shouldn't be here.
He was the first driver that most people saw and thought, hang on a minute, I can probably do better than this.
Katayama scored points.
He was better than Taki Inui.
Throw in Taki Inui, why not? Go on.
Usually into a wall.
But Ian Newey did, didn't he? Sorry.
I don't care who we guess because we're not going to get it until after the Spaffer clue,
No, we're not. So should we just say J-Mag because we haven't had that as a proper guess yet?
even though it's wrong. Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Is that your final answer?
Final answer is J-Mag.
My son is a whiner. I am J-Mag.
Wow.
Oh,
yes.
get it, I mean, that was the first suggestion.
I think
Well done.
Montoya was the first suggestion, but
Well, Montoya was the first official guess,
Yes.
but the first
Yeah.
throwing it out there.
Excellent, good work.
Oh, that was
Good
Now, hang on a second. He was in Formula 3 in 1994. Pretty sure he stood in for somebody at the French Grand Prix.
I am just bringing his details up.
Hey, I am not responsible
It was
for the quality of
the
other hints.
Pacific Grand Prix
Oh.
in '95, but
I was
you get
wrong.
half a point
Because he finished 10th.
because he finished 10th.
Yeah, I remember that he finished 10th.
The
in his
Pacific
debut.
Grand Prix, remember that classic AIDA circuit?
No, it was rubbish.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which
It was too-
Pacific Grand Prix was it?
It was too narrow.
The 1995.
So I got the wrong year, I got the wrong circuit.
But you got the right finishing position.
Yeah.
So, if you want to send in a total shunt, what's the best way to do it? What's the only way to do
Only
it?
way to do it is to send it to me via PM at @totalishunt.
It was easily enough done.
Yeah.
Right, Formula Lee. This was on a spreadsheet. Can I just ask, please? Okay, I've seen it now. Don't send any more links to the Microsoft Excel Championships. I've seen it. I'm still not entering.
Or you could all do it now because it's fucking funny.
He's perfecting his skills.
No, believe me.
For
In
next
fact,
year.
if everybody sends it to Paul, then Paul can put a spreadsheet together of all the listeners that have sent it in.
Well, no. Do you know why?
Because
Because
that'd just be a list.
no, because I had a look at the entrance test for how to even get through to the first round, and that's well beyond me.
Yeah, no, I don't mean for the competition, but just for funsies. Just because you like spreadsheets.
just for your own personal entertainment.
So send your spreadsheets to @atotalshunt.
Can if you want.
Right. Anyway, China. It was in the dry in a Renault. Only in 1 week, so we only had 48 entries this week.
Yeah.
Few new
I
people
didn't
that tried
enter.
it for the first time. You didn't. Going on the podcast, Dan came third with a time of 1:36.277, 38th overall. Lee would have been in a tie for 36th, but because of the tiebreak criteria, you put your time in second, so you came 37th, one place above Dan. 1:36.077, and
I was dumb.
I got 1:35.242, which puts me in 21st. I am Ed Forsyth.
You're Ed Staband.
I without
I was in the points until 10-7.
like you put such a good lap in, and without sounding like a bit of a cunt, because I've usually got the legs on you by a few tenths. I looked at your time and thought, I should be in the points here, and then I couldn't even get in within a fucking second of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lee Stevens is Formula Lee's version of Lewis Hamilton.
There are toys, and they did come out of a pram. I don't know if it was Lee or Arthur that put them there.
There you go.
So yeah, I was 22nd with 135.242. So you needed to beat that to get into the points, which the following people did: Zach Henderson, Raymond G, Dominic Arietta, Albert.
Also done a duet with 50 Cent.
Is he Warren G's brother?
I'm gonna have to regulate these jokes.
They brought an album out called The G Spot.
I thought that was the club. Where was I? Alberto Roldan, Alex Chater, Nick Granath, Pete Bull, Nicholas Carline, Matt Michael, and Freddie Brunner. You all made the top 20. Top 10. Jeff Sharp in 10th, Chris Olby in 9th, Vajcha Camping in 8th, Travis Parker 7th, Carl Jarazec in 6th, Ayrton Antonucci, great racing name,
Amazing.
in 5th, Max Williams in 4th. Top 3.
Max Williams is a good racing name because he's got the first name of an actual racing driver and the second name of a racing
Of a
driver
former racing team.
Whoa.
Well, no, they don't race at the minute, they just turn up.
Well, no, they were ahead of some cars this weekend. Come on, let's not be too harsh.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, keep moving.
Yeah, okay. Third place was Alessandro P, who has sent me his full surname, and I forgot to put it on the spreadsheet, so that's because I'm not very good at spreadsheets. 133,877. Second place was Bradley Chambers, 133,859. And winning this week,
Well-
Ollie Vestley.
Oh, Ollie Vestley.
133,624. Will Coates was 29th. I beat him! I must be the best Formula League driver going. I beat Will Coates. And that's
So
my
did 28 others.
Yeah, that's my moment of glory. I'm sticking to it for that. That's my Gasly for this season.
Ollie Vestley, our favourite Norwegian.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Ollie. Sadly, there's no prizes at the moment, but if you own a company and you want to sponsor the weekly Formula League prizes, get in touch.
Yeah, of course. How can people get in touch, Paul?
How can people get in touch? They can email us 3legs4wheels@gmail.com. They can send us a tweet at 3legs4wheels or get us on Facebook, facebook.com/3legs4wheels. You can tweet us individually
At Flood21.
At Sean Cowper.
At a Talk Shunt.
at Pablo100 and seeing as Dan's not here, at Dan
Dan Dangleton.
without the underscores.
Yeah.
Right, we need a Formula Lee Baku challenge.
I hadn't really even thought about it, you know. Well, we have been going on, off, haven't we, with the wet stuff?
Can I just say that the last two Formula Lees in Baku have been wet, so can we have a dry one so we can actually do that straight fast in the dry? Because it's the longest straight, and it would be good to have it as a dry race.
Could do, but we're not going to.
Oh, not again.
So it's going to be wet. And we're going to use.
It's one that's all about speed, so put us all in a Sauber.
Use a Red Bull.
Or a Williams, since they did well there last year.
Could do. Some manner.
Step 1, code your own manner into the game.
I don't know what we're going to have. Yeah, we'll have a Williams.
So that's a Williams in the dry.
Yeah.
In
in the wet.
Damn. Right, so it's a Williams in the wet in Baku, and you have until 7 o'clock UK time on Monday, the 30th of March, the day after the race.
I just thought then if we've got no sponsors for it, we can at least throw a T-shirt in for the top three.
We'll sort something out with T-shirts. Your first entry into the top 3 gets you a T-shirt from this next race onwards.
No, I mean like at the end of the year.
Oh, the end of the we've got end of season sponsors.
Oh, all right.
Just not weekly.
Just not weekly ones. Zach has put a prize up of $100 for the end of the season, and we're hoping to amass more as the season goes on. It's weekly prizes that we don't currently have.
Right.
Because you know how them people that used to send us money for mentioning their name used to sponsor the weekly prizes?
Yeah.
And now they don't.
Then they stopped sending us money so we don't mention their name anymore.
So now they're Voldemort.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Although
Oh, crap, I just realised Lee said it.
he wasn't listening.
That's all right.
You get 2 more Oh, no,
No, you don't.
That's Candyman.
Or Beetlejuice.
I think that's about it for this week. But we just want to say a massive get well soon to Bruce Anstey.
Yeah, the Isle of Man TT, the world's biggest motorcycling event, is coming up. We're about 6 weeks away from it now.
Something like.
Yeah, and it happens less than a mile from where we record the podcast, and it's part of the track with the with the grandstand not that much further away.
To be fair, it happens less than a mile anywhere on the island.
unless you live down south, because it doesn't go anywhere near the south.
No, but we're doing special TT gigs down south, so we'll be in a mile of most people's houses.
Fair enough. But yeah, and Bruce Anstey, one of the top riders who has come here many times, broke the lap record and won races in the past, has had to pull out because
The
of
Flying
illness.
Kiwi.
The Flying Kiwi from New Zealand. He's had to pull out because of an illness. So we wish him all the best. We'd love to see him back on the Isle of Man sometime soon.
Absolutely.
And he's probably my favourite rider. Actually, I was quite disappointed that he's not coming over. So, but health comes first. So all the best to Bruce. And if anybody is thinking of coming to the Isle of Man for the TT, or you've already booked it, if you haven't already booked it, good luck.
If you haven't already booked it, well done for thinking about it about 5 years ago.
Yeah. If you booked and you come over for the TT, send us a message. Let us know. Who knows? Maybe we might be able to meet up for a beer or show you a spot to watch the races where you might not have watched them from before. Just let us know.
If you haven't already booked it and you're still considering coming, then well done on having all of the cash.
So Lance Stroll, we'll see you.
I think actually, isn't Bruce Anstey quite famous for never booking his transport and just turning up at Heysham and
Waiting to
looking
get
it
on
onto the boat? Yeah.
Yeah, it's so you've got to let me on. I'm racing, but with no room. I'm racing. Oh, go on then. Yeah, wasn't the 1 year he left one of his sponsorship spaces free for sponsorship from the Steam Packet company and blagged his way onto the boat in return for a sponsorship.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I don't know how true that is, but that is a story that I've heard, and I wouldn't put it past him. Right, we will be back next week. We will have a preview of Baku.
Yes, we will.
Amongst other things. See what happens in the meantime. We'll see what comes out of the meeting from the strategy group.
Discussion about the meeting.
Discussion about the meeting about the steering committee.
Yeah.
So in other words, it's going to be nothing. There'll be a last-minute rushed announcement on the 29th. Will it be the 29th? No, it'll probably be the 1st because that's a Tuesday. Because that's how these things work. Sian, you're back on news duty this week,
I'm sure
aren't
I will
you?
be, yes.
I would like to put my hand up and apologise for not sort of covering for you doing the articles because I got busy and I've not had time. But the website will be back up and running again properly as of tomorrow, I would have thought.
I will do
Or
my
today.
bestest, yes.
Or it'll be there already, depends when you listen to this. And just to get another plug for the Patreon showing, that's the extra 4 shows a month. You nearly got me saying 4 shows a week.
4 shows a month. Yeah, a half an hour each.
One
roughly.
show a week, so some months there could actually even be 5 shows.
Yeah, sometimes.
Depending on how the days fall.
Yeah.
Just go to patreon.com/3legs4wheels, and if we get up to 250 Patreon subscribers by Le Mans, get the coffee and the energy drinks ready.
Absolutely.
So until then, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.